Good evening, everyone. We will be starting our meeting very, very shortly. And we've just shut the door. It'll be great. But before I open it formally, I'll just do a quick roll call with you through your microphone so we can double check and people in the gallery know who's speaking. Councillor Bell.
Good evening, everyone. Marisa Bell, Southern Vales Ward. Mick Fisher from Kampala.
Marion THEMELIOTIS, the Lassa.
Good
evening, Greta Wilkes, Mid Coast Ward. Lauren G, South Coast Ward.
Stafford, Knox Ward. Jeff Eaton, Thalassa Ward. Paul Young, South Coast.
And Heidi Graves, Knox Ward. Right, all the microphones seem to be working. That's a good start. So I will open the meeting formally, and we do have a couple of apologies this evening. Councillor Davis and Councillor Pritchard. So just letting you know that. And we will begin with our pledge. So we invite all the elected members, and if others want to stand, they're very welcome to. We recognise this city's considerable natural and cultural heritage, including thousands of years of traditional ownership by Ghanaian, and the more recent contribution from people either born here or who have migrated here. As we meet together, we build on this heritage by respecting and listening to each other, thinking clearly, being receptive to new ideas, speaking honestly, and deciding wisely for the current and future well-being of those we serve. Thanks, everyone. Now, I don't believe we have any other thing. Okay, so confirmation of the minutes, item 2. Do I have a mover? Oh, happy to. Oh, sorry, Councillor Eaton. Oh, something's not working up here. Sorry. No, it's not.
Settings not.
Yeah, it's not. It's. I'm on. It's on. Councillor Eaton has moved the minutes. Councillor THEMELIOTIS.
Happy to second.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fisher, did you have a question? No? All in favour? Against? That motion's carried. There's no adjourned business, no leaves of absence. And next we have the Acting Mayor's report. And who would like to move this? Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll move as written.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fisher.
I'll second it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Yeomans, a question or debate?
It's a question, if I can. First, I just thank Councillor Jew for representing the council in Canberra, and also making the submission to the Senate inquiry. Just going to ask a question if there's anything that the Deputy Mayor would like to add to the comments she's made in the report.
Thank you. I think she still is the Deputy Mayor. This has been a while. Thank you so much, Councillor. Yes, and I'd like to extend my thanks too, but I will add that at the end. Councillor Chu, is there anything you would like to add?
I'd like to highlight a few things, if that's okay. Thank you, Councillor Yeomans, for the opportunity. I do want to say that it was a really incredible opportunity to represent our council over the few weeks that the Mayor was not around, but in saying that, she was always at the end of the phone if I had a question to ask. Over that month for other people, I had the opportunity to represent our council and our community in Canberra as part of an ALGAL Bloom delegation, which was made up of councils that are coastal councils, the Adelaide Coastal Council Network, which Councillor Wilkes is involved in as well, scientists and industry, so the tourism industry. And we were able to elevate our voices as high as possible. We even met with the PM to be able to talk to the Prime Minister about it, along with other ministers, and all sides of politics. Within the week, the decision was made, which was supported by the Chamber, which I'm so grateful for me to go over. I contacted education sites and gathered together 200 pieces of art from children and young people across our region. And it's one thing to get art from children, but there's another thing to analyse it and actually take it serious, which I felt was very important. And so 1/3 of those children and young people that participated in that artwork described themselves feeling sad and worried. I think it's yet another example and another input for us to be doing more in terms of supporting the wellbeing of our community. I also met with the Local Government Association while there, and they sit on roundtables with the Australian government and are actually adapting and adopting some of our requests into their advocacy agenda, which will position us not only well with government, but with our peers in other councils, the industry and experts. Then just last week, I also was a witness at the Senate inquiry, which was another opportunity to highlight the impact this is having, particularly on our small businesses, tourism, our recreational lovers of the beach, which I'm sure we can all connect with, and particularly the mental wellbeing of our community. So I would really like to thank everyone around this chamber for supporting me over the last 3 weeks, but in particular, want to pay huge just notice Ines and Michelle and Fu and the directors who were incredible in ensuring that I was ready to go and put our best front forward as the City of Onkaparinga. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor, and I think that deserves a round of applause. And extending that not just to you, but also to the staff. It was an incredible effort to be so agile and able to bring the quantum of our concerns to the national environment, both through the House of Reps, through the Prime Minister, and also through the Senate. The other thing I would just like to comment on is the way in which we've been able to continue some of our leadership in this space. So I'm really thrilled that that's been maintained. Councillor THEMELIOTIS, do you have a question or comment? Yes, you may.
Yeah, okay. Just on the acting mayor's report.
Yes.
Just want to talk about the letter from my favourite, Pete Malinowskis. Thank you so much for writing.
The Premier?
The Premier, oh, Premier, yeah. Sorry, my bad. Thank you for writing back to us around Gather Round. I hope that the Premier knows that we are taking this very, very seriously at South Adelaide, and South Adelaide have so much to give, and Onkaparinga are ready to go to reunite our city to host a Gather Round. So, Pete, you're welcome to come down anytime from Makona. I know it's your favourite.
Thank you I'm sure he'll be pleased to receive the invitation. Any other debate? Any other questions? Thank you very much. And I will put back to Councillor Eaton. Did you have any comments you want to make? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. And once again, thank you very much, Councillor Dew, for all the extra hours that few weeks entailed. We don't have any presentations this evening. We do have 2 deputations. Our first deputation is from Julie Joyce, who some of us will remember from a few months ago. We can invite Julie up to the lectern. This is in relation to an item that is in our agenda later on this evening at 9.3. And so if you'd like to make your way up here, the same rules apply. I think you know what to expect. You will hear a little bell, 2-minute warning. So don't panic about that. And I understand you're open to answer any questions. Okay, your time starts now. Off you go.
Mayor, councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight regarding the proposal to lease community land at SEAFORD Drive for the construction of a 30-metre telecommunications tower. When I addressed you 2 months ago, I presented the feedback from 296 signatories of the petition table that evening. At that time, I also had 95% of those approached signed in opposition to leasing the land. Lucas, the gentleman my neighbour, who started the petition, and I knocked on hundreds of doors within the council's letter drop area. Those that were home advised us that they did not have any mobile connectivity or data issues. I also spoke to people at the Moana Surf Lifesaving Club and Duke's Cafe. Many signed the petition. They too voiced no issue with connectivity. The coffee van on the Esplanade opposite 4th Avenue collected signatures. Again, no one complained of connectivity issues, the very reason put forward by TPG to build this tower. This morning, I again asked the local residents that gather at the Surf Lifesaving Club to walk and have coffee about connectivity issues. They reported no issues. The residents Lucas and I spoke to when gathering petition signatures were very vocal as to why they didn't want the tower. Their main concerns were loss of visual amenity, property devaluation, and health risks. These concerns align with the Council's own Have Your Say feedback report, which showed that 87% of respondents opposed the lease of community land. That percentage is surely too significant to be ignored. Council distributed letters to 521 homes and received 475 responses in total when combining Have Your Say and submissions and the petition. To achieve this level of response within just 3 weeks is extraordinary. It makes clear that opposition is widespread and genuine. In relation to visual impact, the applicant, TPG, has attempted to downplay concerns with statements on page, you could read them on page 87. Vegetation will screen the tower. There are already street lights impacting views. Towers are now an increasingly accepted part of the landscape. Respectfully, these arguments do not stand. Firstly, a 30-metre tower cannot be screened by vegetation. At best, only the very base could be concealed. However, that would also obstruct maintenance access. A structure the height of a 10-storey building cannot be hidden by a few shrubs and trees. Secondly, comparing a street light to a 30-metre tower is dismissive and insulting to residents' legitimate concerns. We deserve to be taken seriously. Thirdly, the suggestion that people will just accept this tower as part of the landscape is an unfounded assumption. The residents of Seaford Rise have worked hard to build or buy their homes with the expectation of enjoying the natural surroundings, including views to the wetlands and the sea. These are not people who will simply just get used to losing this highly valued amenity. In relation to health concerns, since consultation closed 2 months ago, community use of the wetlands, the community land under discussion, has changed significantly. Due to the recent algal bloom, our beaches are no longer safe for dog walking or walking for people, as we saw today. As a result of the wetlands walking trail, the walking trail has become busier than ever. Dog walkers, families, and social walking groups gather to walk the circular trail around the ponds. Even this morning, our walking group had to divert to the wetlands as the beaches again filled with foam. Importantly, the proposed tower site sits right where the community gathers. It has car parking nearby. It has the dog waste bin and bag dispenser. It is one of the most frequently used community spots in the area. Whether or not the site is considered settled, the perception of health risk is real. People will naturally feel uneasy spending time under a tower of this size. How many more possible health risks do they need to deal with? We cannot afford to lose another recreational space at a time when the wetlands are more valuable than ever to the community. The environmental impact. The proposed lease area may be approximately 100 metres from Pedlar Creek, but it has not been mentioned that it is on a slope towards a storm water drain running from DALKEITH Road into Pedlar Creek. That drain is bordered by vegetation that is a nesting area for many birds, including finches. It will be impossible to build this large structure without disturbing the natural habitat. With a community walking trail 1 metre to its east, the drain a few metres to its west, and access required for maintenance trucks to the north, it's difficult to envisage where the environmental impact mitigation can occur. The pump shed's been mentioned in the report. The community is aware that this is a necessary part of the stormwater management of the wetlands. It is not a commercial structure on community land. The pump shed is only 3 metres high and can be screened by vegetation, unlike a 30-metre structure. There is genuine concern that this tower will impact on the bird life that rely on the wetlands. I want to point out that the applicant's justification for this lease is to provide improved network coverage. Yet residents have advised and responded that they already have strong coverage from the existing TPG tower at the southern end of Seaford Rise. It is barely 1.5 kilometres from the proposed lease site. The tower sits on land 56 metres above sea level, the tower itself rising a further 35 metres. A total of 91 metres above sea level. It serves us well with 5G for Optus, Vodafone and Telstra. It is clearly visible from most of the targeted area. It is clearly visible from Moana Caravan Park, the Surf Lifesaving Club and Deep Blue Cafe on the Esplanade at Moana. We do not need another tower intruding onto our outlook and community land. In conclusion, the community's position is clear. Residents overwhelmingly oppose the lease of this land. We urge you to respect strong feedback provided and protect our amenities. Please reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. I'll open up to questions. You're okay with them? Yeah. Any elected members wish to? Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you. Thank you for your reputation, Julie. It's much appreciated. I just wanted to ask you a quick question. So, do you know anyone, do you yourself, or is there anyone that you've heard who have had insufficient mobile coverage in the area?
Well, no, as I said, everybody is talking about how we don't need it. That was the first thing that people would say when we knocked on the door. We don't need this, and then launch into, it'll be in the site when we looked out to the sea. It's going to devalue our homes, but that was the very first thing they'd say. We don't need this. We have good connectivity.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time as well.
Councillor Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Julie, for your deputation. Further to the question that Councillor Wilkes asked, I'm just wondering how many of those people do you think that you door knocked were working from home and really rely on activity?
Yes, quite a few, and even down in Moana, because we tried to get to, in that short time, as much of the area that we thought. We didn't know who had been letter dropped, but we tried to get around the full area. And it turned out we hit on the spot that had been letter dropped, including across into Moana and across the road in DALKEITH. And there were a lot of people, particularly down in Moana, that were working from home. And they said, what's the problem?
Right.
And that's in the low area.
Thank you. And further question to that, you've just answered part of that, I suppose. I was just wondering how far you went in your door knocking, the suburbs, the roads, the square kilometres sort of that you covered.
Yes.
Can you give us an idea of that?
Yeah, sorry. We went where the proposed site is. We went back up that hill, straight up on about a 3-street width, but as high up as we could to the Grand Boulevard top end. And then we went across the road on DALKEITH and did from Grand Boulevard down to the bottom. And then diagonally across in Moana and did that corner there. And actually we were very pleased when we saw your map that we had hit the right spots. Yeah.
Another question, if I may, Mayor. Do you think the people you door knocked were aware of the other sites that had been considered by council or by?
No, I don't think they were.
That's okay.
No.
Yeah, that's all. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
I
Any
don't think they were available.
You don't think?
Sorry.
No,
Were they? Okay.
don't know the answer to that. Any other further questions for Julie? Thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution this evening. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Lynette Brandwood, who is from the also talking to this item at 9.3, and I'll invite her to come forward. And when you come up, Lynette, if you just wouldn't mind just introducing yourself as well and where you fit in to the story with Service Stream. Thank you. And you know the drill about when the bells are going to ring. Thank you. Off you go when you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Lynette Brandwood and I work for ServiceStream. I'm here this evening to represent TPG, Vodafone, in respect of this proposal for a telecommunications facility. This proposal is part of the federal government's peri-urban mobile program, or the PUMP program, which is a national initiative designed to address mobile coverage gaps in areas such as Seaford, Rise and Moana, where reliable mobile coverage and capacity are lacking. This black spot funding is not transferable, and if a suitable site isn't found, then the funding will be withdrawn. When we commenced searching for a suitable site, and I'll just try and work this if I can. That's the site. For these, I've just put in some context of where it is. When we started looking for a site, we obviously looked at co-location opportunities. They're large and they were obviously ruled out. They're too far to provide coverage into this coverage area. After looking for the co-location opportunities, a large number of candidates were also considered. However, they've been ruled out for various reasons. You can see pretty much in the middle, the Moana Sands Conservation Park and the Moana Beach Tourist Park are central in the search area. Council has advised it won't entertain a facility in the very coastal tourist park, and the Conservation Park is a significant Aboriginal cultural heritage site. Most of the remaining area in the coverage polygon is residential. The few commercial areas along the esplanade are less preferred locations, as they abut residential properties and result in high visual impact to coastal areas for residents, tourists, visitors to the area. We believe that this site proposed is the most suitable in the search area, and that council's support for a lease of a small portion of its land will deliver significant benefits to the community. I'm happy to expand on the co-location and alternate sites considerations in the end of this deputation if you would like. The proposed site is positioned adjacent to council's managed aquifer reserve. I'll just go back to that, which is pretty much in front of this large utility shed. The area has already been cleared of vegetation, so there won't be any more additional vegetation clearance. And grouping of essential infrastructure is generally seen as a best practice for planning principles. This council-owned land provides the greatest possible separation from nearby dwellings, and I acknowledge there'll be some visual impact to surrounding properties. However, the amenity impact has been minimised. The design is as slimline as possible, and the facility will support 2 carriers, not just one, which will save the reproduction of another facility in the future if the needs of Optus are also grow. Equally importantly, the site avoids impacts on the Moana Sands Conservation Park, which has been identified as land which holds significant Aboriginal cultural heritage and archaeological values. This will provide a site without that impact, but obviously Optus and Vodafone will work with the local Aboriginal groups during any construction or maintenance works. Council support is essential to unlock this investment in council land. With no cost to the community will stand to gain critical service that's been identified by the federal government as a national priority. We all use mobile devices, and we know that reliable mobile coverage is fundamental to our needs. Social inclusion, helping stay connected with family, friends of the community. It assists in remote working and remote education, banking, online services, telehealth access for families, the elderly, vulnerable residents, and for mental health assistance. Safety and emergency responses. Reliable coverage can save lives during storms, road accidents, and personal and medical emergencies. Without the proposed infrastructure, the Seaford, Rise and Moana community is left disadvantaged. In summary, this project is federally funded, recognising local coverage needs, strategically located next to council's infrastructure, is on council's land, providing separation to dwellings, is a shared facility, reducing the duplication of facilities, will not result in vegetation removal, It includes landscaping to enhance the amenity. The decision before council tonight is to lease a small portion of its land for this essential infrastructure. It's not a meeting to assess the proposal itself against the planning merits. The proposal will be subject to the statutory planning process, where merits will be fully assessed against the relevant state and local policies in time. If you want me to address some of the comments that Ms. Joyce has made, and I do recognise that the community is upset. Anything new in a landscape is difficult. She spoke about connectivity. The surrounding facilities are quite some way away, which means that they can't provide a lot of depth of coverage. So indoor coverage is limited. Now, we know that because the federal government has also assessed this, not just the carriers, and the community has put in for this black spot funding. Thank you. So they're at least 1.35 kilometres away, which means that the depth of coverage needs to be provided. Now, remembering that we're all using our facilities, phones, tablets, mobile, laptops, more and more, and the need for that grows. So there's more pressure on the surrounding sites. So we need to provide something as this for infill coverage. Assessment of the visual impact will be undertaken during the planning process. Rest assured that residents and users of the walking trail are safe. The site has been assessed for its EME. The EME will be less than 3.5% of the RPANSA standard. RPANSA is the Australian Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety Agency, and it protects us from EME levels. Now, we're 3.4 something percent of the 100% allowable to be safe. It has a small footprint and will not impact the wetlands. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you. I'll ask councillors if they've got a question or any questions. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you for your deputation. In relation to the other sites that are listed up there in front of us, is there a potential to co-tenant or co-locate the tower with those facilities that are already existing?
That has already been considered, thank you. On all of those facilities, TPG and Optus are already there. They can't improve their coverage enough to provide coverage and capacity footprint into that coverage, into their search area or the coverage target area. So, no, that was looked at. It's a lot cheaper, a lot easier, and obviously doesn't cause any disturbance to anybody, but no.
No further question? No. Councillor Yeomans.
Yeah, thanks for your deputation. Just a couple of, just clarify the need for this tower. Councillor Fisher asked the questions really similar about sharing the existing infrastructure. What would you be able to assess what the impact would be on the coverage if this doesn't proceed? Or conversely, if it does proceed, are you able to give some sort of indication as to how the coverage would be improved? There's a comment in the report about it'll be improved, but sort of to what degree?
Yeah, thank you. The coverage in the target area, which is the red shaped polygon, will be reliable, it will be uninterrupted, and it will have good indoor coverage for both 4G and 5G. So the speeds of your uploads and downloads will be improved. They'll be reliable because there's not that shift from one cell to another. So if you're coming through this area and you were, let's just say you were a tourist in the area and you were moving from south to north, you would find that you would have patchy coverage in areas, and then they would have a handover for calls or data where you're doing road directions or maps or something like that. So that's your outdoor, but indoor is the most important to have even based. And you can see that this network, it's more like it's quite balanced. It's a good site, it's a good area. Obviously, it'd be better in the conservation park, but that's not a good location, obviously. But it would give good, reliable indoor 4G and 5G coverage.
And you mentioned earlier that there's going to be funded by the federal government. So who actually did the analysis to determine that this was be an area where the coverage isn't as good as it could be?
Can I defer to Tim on that one? Sorry, Tim Smith is from Vodafone or TPG.
Question if I'm wrong, councillor, is how that assessment is done by the federal government. So how do they know that this is an area?
What's the basis of that finding? I guess that's what I'm.
If you'd like to come up to support the deputy, you're very welcome. Just please introduce yourself and how it is that you're here.
My name is Tim Smith. I'm a senior project manager with TPG. So in regards to your question, you wanted to know why the area was selected?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So the federal government, as part of their they do various funding programs. They give telecommunications companies like Optus, Telstra, and Vodafone, TPG, funding to fill black spots where they see there's diminished coverage or where there's areas that could be affected by bushfires, flooding, things like that. So they were the ones who put out more like a tender, a tender to Optus, Telstra, and Vodafone. And we tender and say we'll try and get a site in that area. And this was one of those spots.
So sorry, if I could just wind that back. So you actually identified this as a bit of a black spot anyway.
The federal government did.
Right.
They identified it as part of their black spots program, and then we tended to apply to look for a site in the area and to improve coverage in the area.
Sorry to interrupt, but in addition to that, I've been in the telecommunications industry for far too many years. I know that all carriers have looked in this area for many, many years. You've had proposals put to you before. Different carriers have come to council and asked about sites. In particular, there's next to the tourist park, to the southeast corner of the tourist park, there's a little pump station. I know that drawings and proposals were put to council for a site in that area. Council's been asked about the caravan park for years. Telstra put a proposal forward for what's shown there as B, a proposed facility. It didn't get any legs and it's just fallen off the wagon. So Telstra's also been looking in the area, but Optus and Vodafone have been looking in this area for at least 10 to 12 years.
Okay. Just one more question. And this is more of a planning one, so if you can't answer it, I might try and work with it. There you go. You mentioned the process. So at some point, if we go through this process and the council approve to progress it, there will be a development application and that'll be assessed on its merits from that point of view. Will that be publicly notified? So in other words, will the public be able to make submissions in relation to the tower at that point as well?
Thank you, councillor. Yes, they will. A planning application has already been submitted to council. It has not been advertised as yet, because we're looking to license a small piece of land from council. They've been provided with drawings, the assessment report, everything else. It will go to public consultation, and the consultation will be very broad because all adjacent owners will need to be notified. And if you have a look at the shape of the parcel of land, which twists around the development, there's going to be over 140 dwellings notified, plus it will be public notified on council's website. So yes, it will be.
So who'll make that ultimate decision then?
Council makes the decision.
Council
Council, you have to go to a full assessment with council. They will assess it against the state and local government policies, and then they will also put it out to consultation and take all of those comments into consideration and make a full assessment before they, I assume, go to a panel meeting, because I'm assuming there'll be a number of submissions.
And I might leave it at that, because then you'll be able to follow that through in the item with our own staff, if that's all right.
Yep.
Councillor, was that last question?
That's fine. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkes.
Your time is much appreciated to come here and answer our questions. I've got a couple tonight. So do you have an overlay of where those towers are best effective? Or is there a general consensus, you know, that they cover a certain area?
As a general rule, they'll cover about, they need to be spaced about 1.5 to 2 kilometres apart. It depends on the number of users and the capacity, depends on the height that the facilities are at. So each of these facilities has antennas, and all of the surrounding facilities have all carriers on them. So there is a need for all carriers. But if we looked at the one to the north, which is L, the centre line of the antenna there is 25 metres for CPG. The one to the east, which is not built yet, but it's recently been approved, will have a centre line of 31 metres. And the one to the south, below the Sappan substation, is 27 metres. So a little bit of extra height will give a little more spread, but it won't give the capacity. So those three work together, and with the new one in the middle, it will provide seamless coverage.
Okay. With that one in the middle that's being proposed and we're debating tonight, can the height of that tower change without community consultation? And can other carriers be added to that tower once it's been approved?
Good question. The facility is whilst it's not in a residential zone, it's actually marked as residential as a principal designated use under the Telecommunications Act. So it cannot be extended without approval by council. So no, it can't. But a carrier could co-locate on there under circumstances if there was, it depends on the volumetric increase, and it will depend on if council will allow land for an extra ground-based facility.
Okay, excellent. This one, the lay of the land, it sort of sits at the bottom of a hill. So all the residences at Seaford Rise, it's written on the map there, they're sort of up the hill. Does that affect coverage?
It's actually not good for coverage. Either you need to be on the top of the hill or you need to be in the basin, and that will give you really good spread this way rather than this way. So, you know, it's a good location.
Okay. And then my last question is, are there other carriers in the area? Other phone tower carriers?
All mobile carriers are on all of those surrounding sites. So Optus, Vodafone, TPG, Vodafone and TPG are the same, yes. And Telstra are all on the surrounding facilities.
Okay. Excellent. I think that's all for now. Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Stafford.
Thank you for your deputation. I was just wondering if you could comment on the concerns raised in the previous deputation around the wildlife and ecological issues.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand. I'm assuming there was some relationship to EME in part, and I'll address that as one. The EME, as I said, is 3.5% of the Arkansas standard, which is a very conservative measure at 100%. So, no, it's very safe for wildlife, birds, etc. There are no moving parts on the facility, so bird life won't be impacted, such as if it was a wind farm, there might be some bird life or what have you, some impacts. As for water runoff into the creek, there will be little to none, it will be managed. There are no drains or anything because the facility itself, the pond itself is the major part. The rest of it's on crushed gravel, which means it's no different to the ground that's there now. It probably have better drainage than what there is now. So there'll be crushed gravel inside, or some sort of rock inside the enclosures, the fences for the compounds. So I do not believe there will be any impact at all, but that will also be assessed as part of the planning process.
You might want to raise that in the item later on with our staff as well. Councillor Platten.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming to do a deputation tonight. I've got a couple of questions. First of all, do you know how many customers you currently have in that area?
Are you talking about both TPG and Optus?
Yeah, the people that this tower will service.
I can't give you that number. We can provide that. I'll take that on notice. Remembering that it's not just people that reside in the area, it's tourists in the area. So there's a large influx of tourists to the Moana tourist park. There are visitors through the area. There's very heavy traffic through that area, as we are all aware, heading south to north. There's schoolies, all sorts of things. So it's plus beach users, and yes, we've got a terrible algal bloom right now, and it's devastating. But I'm hoping that it will not be forever. Our beaches will return to the capacity that we've got or we've had. So it's for safety of beach users as well. So it's all through there. It's not just residents and businesses.
We had 164 respondents to our consultation, and 87% of them were a resounding no. Is this common when it comes to planning telecom towers?
Unfortunately, yes. There's a need, but everybody wants the coverage, but nobody wants to be impacted in any way, shape or form. So I don't want it in my backyard. It's pretty much very common, yes. Yeah. I personally have one in my backyard. Well, technically backyard. I don't really notice it anymore, but to be fair, any new impact on your environment is always something that takes your eye. And yeah, it's common to have objections.
Sure. You spoke a little bit about the Moana Tourist Park and that there was a proposal to put a tower there. Do you have any insight into why that didn't move forward versus the proposed site now?
There's a number of reasons. Council said no. That's the first up. Second, if we were to compare apples with apples and say that we want one in the tourist park or we want one in the proposed site now, we have greater separation to dwellings than what we could have in the tourist park. There's very little space. I personally identified a space that I thought should be put forward. I also worked on a couple of proposals for the pump station. There are a lot of dwellings that are very nearby that would also look over that. This keeps infrastructure together, and it keeps, it does have more separation. I'm not saying it's great separation to all dwellings. We're lucky we've got intervening vegetation, and because it's undulating, it does help. Properties to the north will have little impact because the vegetation is very near to them. So the angle of incidence makes it kind of difficult to see something even near you. I know that the vegetation that's proposed is not going to cover all of it, but that's the whole way of mobiles working. You can't cover the antennas. You've got to have them able to see.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor THEMELIOTIS.
Yes, thank you. Just one question. Did TPG intend on putting a tower up in this location as part of their forward planning, or was it just because there was the pump grant available that they took up that opportunity?
As I said, for 10 to 12 years, all carriers have been looking in this area. This is not just forward planning. There's a need for this facility now by all carriers.
So without the grant, you would still be intending on putting a tower up in this sort of location?
We'll still need to meet congestion demands in the future. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Councillor Bell, you've got a further question?
Me, yes. Thank you. Thank you for coming in for giving me the deputation. Thank you. The question is about federal funding, and you mentioned congestion in the future. Is this also part of the long-term climate disaster action to help with coastal winds, storms, fires? Is there anything about that you could add to it?
There is, and that's part of the federal funding as well for the peri-urban areas. This is because carriers have been criticised across Australia during bushfire. We've all read about it. Bushfires, storms, massive road accidents where there isn't coverage. We've had stories of people having to, run up a hill or, leave their house, leave somebody inside the house so that they can get an emergency call because coverage inside is not great. So, yeah, it does address that. Yes.
Thank you. And another question: have the companies or state or federal government considered talking about maybe turning the pole into something that would blend into the environment, like colouring it green? I don't know. Have you thought about that?
Unfortunately, I was unfortunately responsible for a palm tree in Hollywood Plaza in Salisbury. Please don't blame me for that. It looked good on paper. Quite often they draw more attention if they're made into something else. There are some more successful ones in commercial areas like the Elizabeth Shopping Centre, where they've got signboards that are very tall and their facilities are inside the signs. They're all great, but in this sort of area, no. But council is able to condition this to paint the pole if required, should they decide to proceed with that. Yes, that can be a condition of consent.
I've seen some very creative church uses as well, including some in our local area. Councillor Wilkes.
Sorry, just one quick question on the back of Councillor Bell's question. So has it been considered there's some very tall buildings in the area? Are these allowed to go on residential sort of tall 5-storey buildings?
Yes, they are. Yeah. To go on a residential building is unusual, and there's no really tall residential buildings that would suit this because they don't still have the same height. We won't get that height for the antenna centre line. Even a 5-storey is only about 15-20 metres. So we've got less, and they're not central. If they're really central in this area, they would definitely have become a candidate that would be considered. But if they're north or south in the area, they're not going to get that same spread. So in this particular case, they haven't even been considered as candidates.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for your extra support. It's much appreciated to support the councillors in their decision making later in the meeting. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much.
The item number 8 we are now up to. So those who are following digitally, we're on page 35, and these are the minutes of the Chief Executive Performance Management Committee meeting. Councillor Fisher.
Now I rise to move the motion.
Thank you very much. Do you wish to speak to it now that we've got the formalities out the way? Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to second.
Thank you. Are there any questions, any debate? Would you like to close, Councillor Fisher? I will put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 8.2, so page 39, Councillor Yeomans.
Yeah, there's some changes that Councillor Pritchard had sent through earlier.
Thank you very much. Can you all see those on your screen? So this is what's highlighted in the yellow. Councillor Yeomans, just to speak to the motion.
So I can speak to that. So that what the intention here is to deliver what the intention was during the ARC, and where the initial recommendation that you see in your paper talks to the council approve that management review the risk management framework in relation to escalation points where assessed residual risk is outside of risk appetite. The ARC had a good discussion about this because the ARC felt it should be council making those sorts of decisions. And it's probably easy for me to explain if I can just refer to some notes that we were bouncing around when we were formulating this these words here. Council as a governing body sets the organisation's risk appetite and is accountable for ensuring that risks outside of this appetite are only accepted with full transparency and appropriate oversight. Whilst management is responsible for day-to-day risk management and escalation, it is council that must make the ultimate determination to accept risks that exceed the established appetite. This ensures alignment with council's governance role, provides clear accountability, and maintains community and stakeholder confidence in risk oversight. It's good governance for the board, council, to set the risk appetite for the organisation, to oversee its risk management framework and to satisfy itself that the framework is adequate and that the organisation is operating with due regard to the risk appetite set by the board. It's good governance for management to design and implement the framework and to ensure that the organisation operates within the risk appetite set by the board. And I found a good analogy here that might sort of get that technical jargon more into footy language. If a football board sets a salary cap for the team, that's the limit they agree is acceptable. But then the coach decides it's okay to go over the cap without asking the board. If that happens, the cap isn't really the board's at all. It's just advocacy. Risk appetite works the same way. If council sets the appetite, then only council can decide whether to accept going outside of it. If administration makes that call, council's appetite is meaningless. So these words just provide a bit more, I suppose, meat on the bone to what was decided at the meeting of the ARC. And there's just a couple of other things I was going to raise within the minutes, if I can, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Just in relation to that. One of the points that was discussed in the ARC meeting that was raised by staff was in relation to superannuation. There's been a recent decision within the tax office that talks about clarifying that certain independent contractors, including artists, musicians and fitness instructors and individuals performing duties under statutory appointments, committee members, etc., may be considered employees for the purpose of superannuation. Councils, including our council, have commenced a review, reviewing historical payments in case we've got to do a bit of back pay. Set aside $170,000 just in case that's the case. However, the council is actually working with other councils. They're pretty keen for the LGA to manage this across the board, getting some consistency with the ATO. Applying for class ruling to pause the penalty. So whilst they're working through this process, not sort of looking to pay what they might need to be paying. And because of there's no overarching strategy here from the LGA's perspective, councils are individually managing the compliance. So that was just something that was brought up in them. If you read the minutes, that just clarifies that one a little bit for you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Wilkes, seconding question?
Yes, please. Can I please second it?
Go ahead.
As written. I would also just like to point out that I really liked the Audit and Risk Committee discussion and actions arising table that was in this report. So attachment 1, I thought, was a great summary of what the committee had been up to.
Thank you. I'm sure to be pleased to hear that. That'll certainly make it easier. Councillor Fisher, a question?
Question, Mayor, please.
Go ahead.
Is the administration comfortable with transferring that risk to council? And before you answer that, where is council?
Council in terms of whether it's the staff, the chamber, yeah. So definition around council and the risk.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, Councillor, this was obviously discussed at the ARC and sorry about that. In principle, I'm supportive of it. And I think this is more about transparency and visibility of the risks that are outside appetite. I would run a record for those who are listening, and I would just say there's no ambiguity around it, that the risks are being managed. This is a tidying up process, so we can give the council some more visibility on those risks that are outside the appetite. It's not to say that risks aren't being managed already, so I just want to be clear on that.
No further questions. Councillor Young, do you wish to close? We'll put the item. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. And Councillor Young, you wouldn't mind passing on our appreciation to the chair and the minute taker for getting all those things so clearly addressed for us. Next item is 8.3, the SWARA. Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you. I'd like to move as written.
Thank you.
I also just wanted to say that I really love Councillor Pritchard's updates that he gives us from his role on this board. So I was quite upset to see that he wasn't going to make it tonight, but I'd still printed out their report because I actually do find them really interesting. But no, he always captures it way better than what the report does. I will say though that I do look forward to seeing the draft strategic plan and the draft long-term financial plan come to fruition. I think the diversion rates that they've pointed out of 56, 62 and 63 is great to see those improving, and also liked how they spoke of the independent member allowance, because I know how much time those independent members put in. So I really hope that they can take into account their workload and hopefully align something for those people who dedicate so much time sitting on that board. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Mayor, it's my pleasure to rise and second this motion in the absence of
Thank you.
Councillor Jordan.
I appreciate your consistency. Are there any further questions, comments? Do you wish to close? Councillor Wilkes? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 9.1, so we're now moving into the section of reports from officers, and I'm pleased to welcome our presiding member two of the our council assessment panel, who has joined us this evening, Matt Atkinson, and so we're giving him the opportunity to be in the chamber, but what I'm just checking whether I should let you speak first before perhaps, and then we move the motion. What do you think? You happy to take questions as well?
Yes, of course. So
I do have the support of the chamber, I'll get you to speak first and ask questions, and then we'll move the motion. Over to you. Perhaps not everyone you might not have met, and they might not have met you, but if you just want to say a couple of words about who you are and your role, and we appreciate the contribution you make.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Matt Atkinson. I am the presiding member for the Council Assessment Panel. I think most of you were here last year. I can't believe it's already been a year since last year's annual report. I am here this evening to present the annual report for the Council Assessment Panel. I'll be relatively brief. I know you've got a lot on your plate tonight. I do have just some observations from the last 12 months. And I note that there were 19 development applications that were presented to Council's assessment panel. During that period of time, only one of those was refused by the panel. And I think that's a really good reflection of the work that Council staff do behind the scenes. Part of what Council's administration's role is to work with applicants to bring applications to the panel at a point where they are capable of being determined. So there's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes. So with that, I would like to thank Brett Miller, Council's assessment manager, Renee Mitchell as well, who's also filled in for a few months, I think at the time as the only level 1 accredited professional, Matthew Lawrence and your team for all of the great reports that have come through to the panel. One of the other functions of the Council Assessment Panel is to report back to Council with any suggested policy improvements that might arise. We didn't minute anything over the last 12 months. We felt that the policy contained within the Planning and Design Code is relatively clear. So I took the opportunity in my report as part of the annual report just to reflect on some of the challenges that we often, and I think the discussion you've had earlier about the lease for a telecommunications tower is a really good reflection of what the panel does pretty much with every item that we determine. So there's this real challenge when you've got applications that go through a public notification process. Often you'll hear from those that don't like it. Rarely do you hear from the people that do support it. But we always bear in mind that when we're assessing development applications, that the policy that's contained within the Planning and Design Code, albeit that it's a state document, most of that policy came out of the former council development plan, and that's policy that was developed with the entire community. So it's really important that we're able to focus on the actual policy that's contained within the document for the betterment of the entire community. And I think that that's a really challenging task. And I did put in that Councillor Heidi Greaves, as the council member representative, it can be particularly difficult when you've got members of the community that are there, that are emotional, and you have to take that council member hat off and assess on merit. So that's a real challenge. So I just thought I'd share that with you tonight because I think it is something that is quite difficult. But certainly really enjoyed the last 12 months or 24 months now, I guess it's been since I was appointed, and working really well with the other members, independent members of the panel also.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Greaves has got an unblemished record on the attendance. So our deputy proxy, Councillor Fisher, has hardly had an opportunity to, hasn't been troubled. Yes, so I do appreciate the contribution that the Chamber's been also making. Note too that I think our Director of Planning is #1 in the state for being against her name for that accreditation process. I'm going to give an opportunity to ask questions in relation to at this moment before the motion. So unless it's something specific to the motions, Councillor THEMELIOTIS.
No, just questions
to our
absolutely
guest. Yes,
Yep, I have a question. I think you just mentioned that was it 18 applications approved and one denied, and talking about the quality of those applications. What do you say to commentary that the reason why there are so many approvals is more around a planning code that's geared up towards developer rather than genuine community need?
I'd say
this doesn't need to be career limiting. So
no, yeah, a little bit of a loaded question. Generally, even the form of development plans are development plans. The planning and design code is a planning and design code, so it's geared up to guide development. I think that they're always going to be that way, particularly when you've got growing communities and growing population and governments that are fixed on population growth. It needs to be accommodated, and the whole idea of planning and design code, town planners such as myself and other accredited professionals, is to try and ensure that we're able to develop our communities to the best of our abilities. So yes, it's probably developer focused. I've certainly heard arguments to that effect, but it kind of needs to be because we need good development outcomes.
Thank you. Councillor Yeomans?
Just a question on the annual report.
Well, I might take that in the context of the motion, unless it's something specific. If you can ask a question. Yeah, sure.
It's just a quick one. In relation to the judicial review proceedings that related to the wave pool or DINGA, just wondering whether that is something that could have been or should have been noted in the annual report, given the significance of it.
Judicial review proceedings are generally around the process that follows. The council assessment panel is very much their role is to look at the application, post all of that process being undertaken, and make a determination against the code. So it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment on the procedural side of that. And given that there is a legal challenge, it's probably not appropriate for me to talk about it.
It's within the context of the role of the panel. So if it's outside of that, which the judicial review is, it can't be contained within the report. Councillor Chu.
I just wondered, I don't know if you're the right person to direct this to. Do you think that we've got the threshold right in terms of the complexity, what goes to CAT and what goes to the State Commission Assessment Panel? And do we determine that, or is it state-led?
No, it's definitely state-led. The applications that are presented, where the CAT is the relevant authority, is essentially for any development application that's required to be publicly notified. Where there is a little bit of discretion is when it's notified, if there are no reps opposed or if there's no representations that would like to be heard, then there's some discretion for council to say that that can be delegated further down to council's administration via the assessment manager. But in short, that higher level authority of the council assessment panel is for applications that are notified, and that's set out in the Planning Development Infrastructure Act and associated regs.
So it's a compliance checking against the policy that belongs to the state. So do I have a mover for this report? Councillor Fisher.
I move the motion is written. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Eaton.
And I'll second it. Nothing to say.
Thank you. Any further questions? Debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? And thank you for coming tonight, Matt, and also to the rest of the CAP, if you pass on our thanks for what can sometimes be quite tricky. So appreciate it. Item 9.2. So page, what are we up to? 77. And this is regarding the vacancy that has been occurred due to one of the deputy, one of the deputies having to resign, choosing to resign. So we have, what's independent? Oh, sorry, it's a renewal. Apologies. I'm reading one thing and thinking something else. Councillor Fisher's in a moving mood. Is that right? You're moving this item, 9.2? Just ignore what I said and read what's on the paper.
I have a question.
Oh, you do? Go ahead. Go with the question.
So what's administration's view on the difference between 1 and 2, or the benefits or otherwise?
Oh, okay. So some discernment on that. Are you happy to take that question now?
Through the Mayor, in the executive summary, we put forward that it's our professional view that the panel should be renewed rather than re-advertised at this time. It's only been 2 years since the panel was last appointed.
Yes. And was that your question? And did you also wish to move it?
I'll move part 2.
Part 2?
Part 2 is the recruitment. That one.
No, so
sorry, part 1.
Okay. That just to cut, yeah, that's, yep, all righty. And second, Councillor Wilkes, did you have a question?
No, I'd like to.
Sorry, I'm really sorry that I'm pressing buttons up here that aren't always doing what they should. Apologies, Councillor Wilkes. You're seconding this motion?
Yes, please.
Very good. Any questions? Any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Apologies for my getting carried away then. Item 9.3, page 83. Please go ahead. Councillor Greaves, I'm putting the.
Yes, look, thank you. Given all the discussion tonight around what comes next, should this be approved, as a member on the CAP, I would like to declare a conflict of interest and I will remove myself from the chamber.
Thank you very much. And we got that documentation up here. Thank you very much. I'll just wait till Councillor Greaves leaves. No further conflicts of interest. Councillor Fisher?
Yeah, I may have a material as well as the deputy member of CAP. Should that come up when Councillor Greaves is not present?
Thank you.
I'll leave the chamber.
Thank you very much. Any further matters? Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask a question.
Go ahead.
In the deputation by the TPG representative, we heard that council refused an application for the option 2, which was near the Moana Tourist Park. And I'm just wanting to seek further clarification on why that was refused.
Through you, Mayor, there were 2 sites close to the Moana Tourist Park, one inside the tourist park area, one outside. The coastal vistas and the impact to master planning of the tourist park both played a role in why we thought there might be other sites that were perhaps better.
Okay. I would like to move, please, 4. Yeah.
I'll just wait till that's all for people to see. So would you just like to check that, Councillor Platten? That's what your intention is?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
Chamber, I've given this probably a vast amount of my time in the last 2 months when I became aware that this tower was going to be proposed, or the lease was going to be proposed for the land. It didn't go past my attention, and I certainly don't think there was any malice involved, but our organisation's provider is TPG, and I think that the report needed to be more explicit in naming that as a potential issue. I think I would have certainly liked to have seen it there. It's been made, I've asked a lot of questions about it, and it's been made really clear to me that it isn't seen as a conflict. But I think in the realms of public eye, especially when it comes to the city of Onkaparinga, we need to be ever so careful when it comes to making sure that we're transparent. The other thing I want to bring the Chamber's attention to is public consultation, and this will probably be reflected on more as we go into notices of motion. But we like to put our consultation as one of the first things in our reports, or certainly make a big deal out of it. In this particular example, we've not only gone out for consultation, but we've also had a petition. So we've had nearly 300 people sign a petition against it. And we've had 87% of respondents. We've actually had quite a lot of respondents to this, 164, which in the realms of consultation is massive for a council. We're normally talking about consultations of 20 or 30, which is a whole nother area that I think we need to work on. This proposal is specifically about local area. It's about the local residents and potentially tourist visitors who will get better reception on their phones. I can speak personally. I go down there every week for dance class, not for me, but for my daughter. And I don't have an issue with reception, but it has been identified as a black spot. Given that the community has come out relatively in force and relatively against it, 87%, my heart says no. And so I'm putting forward to you to say no. The other thing I would say is that if this was a pre-planned project, which I'm not sure whether it was said that it was, whether the grant would be applicable to it, given that the grant, I think, is specifically for new projects. I can't really speak to that, but I'm interested in finding out more.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilkes.
Yes, please. I will second this as written. Well,
do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please. I will.
Go ahead.
Look, Chamber residents in the gallery, I will not be supporting this on the basis of community consultation. It is what I truly believe should be our guiding principle. We've had a petition come with 296 signatures. We've had Julie come to us now on 2 occasions. And I've also had residents speak to me and say, I'm not going to get too worked up because I know your chamber is sensible, and I'm sure you'll see the light that people don't want this. We had the mail out of 521 people, and in 3 weeks we had 156 come back and say they were not in support. We had, not in support, 20 that were. Then we had the additional 296 say they were not in support. So in total, out of the 521 who were directly contacted, and I'm sure we normally get we've got that indication there that all of those 475 respondents are very local to this proposal. Comments include site issues. And I really looked at page 112 of the agenda where it highlighted, and we didn't speak of this tonight, but it highlighted that phone tower is actually, as you come down the hill, it's actually as you enter into the traffic. And I thought that comment in the engagement report was really really on point, because I thought when I drive down that hill, you just see it. You're going to see that spot. You'll see it'll be right up in the sky there. So I was also interested to hear that this was identified as a black spot by the federal government and not a black spot by residents. I thought that, if they were pushing to have a tower there, it would be because it was needed and they have lots of community concern, not because the federal government have thought there's a black spot there. Look, I always see myself here as a voice for the community, and it's never my own views. So the overwhelming support for this not to go ahead from the community is what's driving my decision today. It may not be my area, but I'll always rise for public consultation outcomes. So I urge the the chamber not to support this based on the public consultation process that we've been through and all of the residents who have voiced their concerns against the tower. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bell, a question or debate?
Debate, if I may, please, Mayor. Thank you. I'm not supporting item number 4 on this agenda. I would prefer that it would go ahead. I do believe that there's been quite a bit of work done to determine where this tower could be placed. I respectfully acknowledge the work and the signatures that have been collected by the community. I do feel, however, there's an element of information that maybe some of the community are not necessarily been aware of, such as what was provided by the telecommunications deputation as well. I think, we do need to think about the future, and we're going to have more residents in our community, and for us to stay connected with all the incredible smartphones and internet and communication devices that we do use, I think we do need to consider the cells or the extra cells that the towers will provide, allow that grid connection that we really need. I think a lot of work's gone into determining from looking at 4 or more sites that this one would be the better one that would have less impact on visually, particularly for the area close to the coast. And importantly, I think that the consideration it will be, this is really just the first step, and we will need to be going through a further consultation process. So it's just the first step. Will then allow community to have further say into how this will look like or whether it'll go ahead. There will be other stakeholders that will be participating in that process. So this is just the first step. If we were to go ahead and approve it, that is. Yeah. So I'm not supporting number 4. Sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Yeomans.
Just a question in debate, please. Yep. During the deputation, there was a discussion about process. So can you just talk us through, I guess, in essence, the decision that we're making tonight, and then if we decide to proceed, what happens then?
No, we'll go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, well, tonight's decision is about whether or not council approves the use of council's land for a telecommunications tower. If it's approved, then I believe that the DA can be assessed, and Renee might speak to you more about the development assessment process.
Are you happy to take that question? Go ahead.
Through the Mayor, that's correct. Should this lease proposal be approved by council? As was suggested by one of the deputies tonight on behalf of the applicant, the development application has already been lodged but is sitting in abeyance awaiting tonight's outcome. If it's approved, it will be subject to public notification, which is a 3-week period, advertised on the state's planning website and also directly to adjoining neighbours. Anybody can lodge a representation and ask to be heard by the CAP. And if that is the case, it will be considered by the council assessment panel at a future meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, just a quick comment now. Yeah, this one is a real balancing act where the decision either way impacts on those living in the same area who either support or do not support this proposal. The report comments on matters raised within the community consultation, including the visual impact and public health concerns. I'm no expert in health and will accept the advice by the experts on that. In regard to the visual impact, I do get that, and the message was very well articulated by Julie during the deputation this evening, and thank you for that. We do live in a world highly dependent on quality telecommunications. As an aside, in a previous life, I've experienced managing and responding to the state blackout back in 2016. And with the entire telecommunications network affected across the state, including not being able to ring 000, you learn pretty quickly how dependent we really are on communications and technology. To enhance mobile phone coverage and high-speed wireless internet across Seaford and surrounds, I guess the tower needs to go somewhere. The report notes several other sites that were considered, but lands on this particular site for the reasons cited in the report. It's true that the proposed site already has infrastructure in place. I drive past there every day. And of course, the new tower will stand out, but in time, like we mentioned before, like other poles, windmills and infrastructure that has been installed around our landscape, whether it's right or wrong, we do tend to accept that's part of life. I accept what's noted in the report and from the deputation, the installation of this tower will improve network coverage and capacity to both residents and visitors to the area. If the installation of this tower will reduce the risk of a telecommunications outage, that needs to be taken into consideration. As noted in the report, mobile infrastructure ensures people stay connected wherever they are, including during emergencies and NBN outages. I know council will receive some revenue for leasing this land, but as far as I'm concerned, that's not here nor there, and certainly not a deal breaker. For me, this comes down to visual impact versus improved network coverage and capacity. And I'm sorry to disappoint some residents, but like I said earlier, this is a real balancing act, but I see the benefit to the area with improved network coverage and capacity, unfortunately outweighing the visual impact a tower may present. Having said all of that, I'm also supporting of letting this process flow through. I was really interested in that discussion from the planners. I think if we approve the lease of this land, it goes to the next step. That's a far more robust process. The public can make some submissions, and all we're effectively doing tonight is just allowing the land to be used. It's not our decision to finally build a tower. So I'd rather leave that to the experts in that planning area that will assess what needs to be assessed, and they'll take into account the public feedback on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Jew. Could you turn off your microphone, Councillor Yeomans? Councillor Yeomans, can I get you to turn off your mic? Thank you. Councillor Jew.
I have a question to begin with, just to clarify. If we supported this motion that's currently up, what do the like TPG, what's their options then? Can they go to a residential place, and will it be subject to cap as well, or council development approval?
Through you, Mayor, the applicant can always go to anywhere, whether it's public or private, to try to source a location for the tower. It'll be still subject to DA, obviously, but if this is supported tonight to not go ahead with council land, that just reduces this site from their abilities to put a tower at this location.
Sure, thank you. I will debate. Like Councillor Yeomans, I'm not going to support this currently. I feel like it is a heart decision, but it's also a head decision. And I feel like the federal government identifying this location will be based on objective data, whether that's through data and mapping and visuals, or if it's actually through the advocacy of people on the ground. But they wouldn't have identified this space if it wasn't the case. I think about how we have been, supporting our council staff to show leadership in finding other revenue streams. And I know that it's not a hugely significant amount, but it provides another way of us not having to rely on rates as a revenue source, but broadening our revenue sources. As you go past the location, it currently sits alongside other services, and including a big green, not very pleasant shed. So I can't see that it's really going to change the absolute feel of that location. As we've heard from the other councillors tonight, that it will go through a CAP consultation process in itself and a decision there. And if it does improve the network, then like Councillor Yeomans, I support that, following through that process and seeing what the outcome will be.
Thank you. Do you have a question, Councillor Wilkes?
Okay, so
You can't debate, so you have a question.
thank you so much. I am aware of protocol. I do have a question.
Excellent.
Thank you. Julie mentioned for the last 12 years, both Telstra and TPG/Optus have been trying to install a tower in the area and have been approaching council. How many times have council been approached about the tower or a tower in the area? And in those 12 years.
Through you, Mayor. I have been here since 2007. I can't recall looking for any telco tower locations in this vicinity. Perhaps I've missed it, but I can't recall any just off the top of my head.
So perhaps we can take that on notice and get back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And how often do we get approached to install towers in the council region? So I'm sorry if you need to take that on notice as well.
No, through you, Mayor, we have not frequently. I think the last time we did consider one was about 2018, 2016, 2018, somewhere there. So it was a little while ago.
Just check if there's any further advice on that.
To get private land, towers applied for, probably about 1 or 2 a year.
Okay. Excellent.
So I think is the distinction then between what is council land and other land as well as the number of towers?
Yes. Okay.
Is there any further advice that staff want to provide to that? Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, we did also get a request for one at Wilfred Taylor Reserve a little while ago, and the applicant withdrew their request. And there was also one for, and it's in this report, for on top of the Moana SEP Life Saving Club, which was one of the sites considered as part of this report.
Okay, thank you. I have one last question. So we just spoke then about the difference between council being approached and us putting towers on council land, and then the telcos themselves buying private land and placing towers on private land, and how I know Councillor Dew, Deputy Mayor Dew, brought up how they still follow the same process through CAP. How does council see their role in providing land for telcos to install these towers?
So just seeking some clarification, Councillor, is so this is the initiative with the provider of telco or with council? Is that
maybe I'll reframe my question.
Yeah, thank you.
Was council approached by the telco for the installation of the tower?
I think that's in the report, but I'm happy for the staff to.
It is.
Through you, Mayor, with our community land management plans do envisage infrastructure on community land, utility providers and telco towers are also on the list of permitted infrastructure. But, it's essential these days, and it is also included as one of the types of services that we may be able to accommodate on community land without impacting the use of community land too much.
Okay. All right. And I'm kicking myself. I didn't ask Julie about using satellites rather than towers, but I'll leave that for another conversation.
And new technology is coming every day. Councillor Yummins, you can't debate, but you can ask a question.
Yeah, one more question, please.
Yeah.
So on the back of Councillor Bell's raised about the community consultation. So if we do proceed past tonight, in relation to the community consultation, the deputation talked about door knocking and letter drops around the immediate area of the tower. Would there be an opportunity for residents living in that quadrant to also be targeted for the community consultation?
We're not the planner for that one.
They're the ones that will get the benefit.
You heard you take that.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. We're from a planning point of view, we're bound by the legislation, and that requires public notification to go to immediately adjoining neighbours, which, as shown on the plan earlier, captures a lot of people in around that one allotment, and then it is publicly available on the Plan SA portal. for anyone, any resident or anyone that has access to the internet to be able to provide a representation.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Platten, do you wish to close debate? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, we were privileged enough tonight to hear from Atkinson, who's the chair of CAP. And he outlined why it was that we had so many proposals going through CAP. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but my assumption is that as long as you fulfil the requirements in the planning code, there really isn't anything that the planners on CAP can do to change a decision. I personally have been to CAP and I've witnessed an enormous amount of residents speak against a proposal, and that proposal fulfilled the requirements. And so those planners basically gave the time of day, listened to residents, and then came down with their finding that it fulfills the requirements and therefore we're happy to pass it. My concern here is that there are members of the chamber that seem really happy to handball it onto CAP because that makes representing the community much easier. Certainly in the past, I've done that too. It does make it easier because it means that we can say, no, there's a whole nother process. You get to be represented. But really, as long as they fulfill those requirements, they can speak, but the requirements will be fulfilled. And so therefore, the CAP is there to make sure that the requirements are fulfilled. That's my concern. My concern is we did a consultation. The consultation came back as a resounding no for a whole bunch of reasons. And I know on page 100, one of the reasons was we didn't know, we weren't told about it. And I guess we can sit here and we can say, no, we're going to be okay with the land being leased because we know that it's going to go out for another consultation. But my head says that that is why the community gets angry, because we do a consultation, we get told it's tokenistic because we don't listen to it. We then tell them, no, it's okay, there's another one, and then it's not listened to again. So, Chamber, I urge you to consider the consultation.
Thank you, councillor. I'll put this motion. So just get everyone to make sure you're clear about what's in front of you. And all those in favour? 1, 2, 3. All those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The motion is lost. Go ahead. So a division has been called. All those in favour, can you please stand? So we have Councillor Wilkes, Councillor Platten and Councillor THEMELIOTIS. And all those against are Councillor Yeomans, Eaton, Stafford, Dew and Bell. Thank you very much. And if somebody can let this, those who've been excused to be returning, that would be, thanks, Matt. Thank you. Oops. Item 9.4. Really?
Well, that decision's lost. We need to go back.
You need to go back and put the first motion. You need to go back again. Sorry. I'm going to jet lag is now setting in, doesn't it? No. We've seen some earlier evidence of that. So we go back to the original motion. And the original motion. I don't know that do we have to? No, we've cancelled. They've lost the motion. Just hang on a second. I'm feeling like I didn't know what I was doing. So the original motion can be put, and Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll put the motion for the original proposal, just to approve.
It's 1, 2, 3, A and B. Do you wish to speak to the motion, councillor?
Just briefly, look, I can understand this is an emotional issue, particularly for the residents that put up and went to so much trouble to do the petition and collect signatures, but I do feel that in many ways they weren't necessarily privy to all the information, and much more information that will come with all the stakeholders that will participate and have to meet certain criteria before it would go to the CAP, for example. I think it's really important that we think to the future and that we meet the needs of our community, and also, as Councillor Dew mentioned, that we consider how else we can get a little bit of revenue rather than rely on rates. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. A seconder? Councillor is going to the buzzer. I can see hands moving, but I can't see anything on the screen. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll second it.
Thank you. Do you wish to
Enough's been said. No.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Wilkes.
Never shy to have another bite at the apple. So let's go again. Councillors, I urge you to not vote for this. I'm going to read out a comment on page 106. I think this will look terrible in what a quite picturesque area with lots of bird life and a peaceful area with a natural landscape. Having a mobile phone tower will be an eyesore. An alternative location could be near Peddars Creek Dump, where there are no houses and the tower would not have to be seen so readily. Even though I live close to the proposed site, I don't know one person who would enjoy seeing this every day in their daily commute to and from work in such a lovely part of our coast, as well as for people coming to enjoy our beautiful southern suburbs. To have this so close to the beautiful Moana Sands would be an absolute disgrace. Look, to use Councillor Bell's words to say, look to the future, quote, end quote, look to the future. We live in an age with satellites. We do not need mobile phone towers everywhere. And I'm kicking myself I didn't ask that question. I had it written down and I missed it. And to say that we need to be reliant on rates over community consultation, I'm sorry, that doesn't sit well with me either. If this company would like to put a mobile phone tower on land for the money that, we can get in the negotiation, I think we should be looking to the community consultation. It's not just small numbers here. We put out 521 letters and we got 479 responses back. But how more clear do we need to sit here and say we are listening than to listen to all of those people? So, look, I urge you, Chamber, to really have a good, hard think, if you are here for the community, to look at these letters, to look at the submissions that we get, or to say we're going to kick the can down the road, to use another one of my councillor's sayings, and let CAP deal with it. So I truly and wholeheartedly stand here with the community and ask you to follow what their written submissions were to us. Please, Chamber.
Councillor THEMELIOTIS.
Thank you. I'll go for a bit of debate as well.
Go ahead.
Won't be able to beat that, but I'll try. Elected members, in accepting this, you're going to the CAP process. Now, no elected member can tell me that they haven't sat during the CAP meeting and seen residents pour out their hearts on particular issues, and those are not considered. So if you look at the engagement we've received and the written stuff we've received from residents, from a CAP perspective, that's not considered. Because at the CAP, residents need to prove that there is an issue with the planning code. Well, there isn't. This is one of those green light ones that will join the 18 that have already been approved. So essentially, we're giving residents a little bit of hope, knowing the process is geared up against them. We know the process is geared up against them because they won't be able to, through the engagement with CAP, prove that there is an issue with the planning code that prevents this tower from being developed. So why would you, when we know what it's like when residents go through community engagement, put them through that again, knowing, like, we're not silly, we know exactly what the outcome's going to be. Again, because at part of the CAP, emotion doesn't come into it. The environment, little things are touched on,
But really what it comes down to is the planning code. And this is one of those green light applications. I looked at the guide for this process. So the first process is they reach out to the federal member. This is part of that grant. And they ask the federal member to name 2 or 3 locations. They do this to every federal member across Australia, and they put up areas that they've probably been heard from residents or they've had some engagement with at some stage. And then the overlays start with the mapping, and then it goes out to the expression of interest. So that's how it all came about. It also states in that grant process that it needs to be new infrastructure, not infrastructure you were planning for, which is clear TPG had been planning for this for a long period of time. Elected members, I'm going to ask you to not support this. And what this actually does is ask council staff to take another look. There are other locations that are being considered. The conversation with TPG will not stop. So elected members, I urge you to not support this and not send our residents down to a process that we know is geared up against them.
Councillor Platten, question or debate?
Thank you. Just a debate and to bite the apple again. I wouldn't be able to sleep straight at night if I didn't tell you that I think voting for this is a mistake. I think there's many other options. I think that this is the easiest road to take. I think that, of course, TPG came tonight with their representatives and told us that this was the best option because, quite frankly, I think it's the easiest option. And residents have made it clear that this is not what they want. I think that we need to provide other options, or TPG need to provide other options. I think it's interesting that their preferred option was refused by council, from what I can understand. So certainly this probably wasn't their preferred option until it did become their preferred option. In terms of revenue streams, this is a drop in the bucket revenue stream when compared to the amount that we're saving on our telecommunications plan with a new contract. So I urge you to consider the public voice in this scenario.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any further speakers? I'll ask Councillor Bell to close. Oh, sorry, Councillor Yeomans, question or debate?
Just a quick debate.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what's been mentioned about the consultation, and we do need to consider that. And I think you know I've been well documenting that over my time. What we don't know, and drawing on Councillor Bell's view as well, we don't know what the people are saying in that red quadrant. In other words, we don't know what the views are of the people that will be impacted and will gain the benefit of better, more reliable coverage. Without knowing that, it's really hard to sit here and say, we'll just go with the people that are concerned about the visual impact, which is essentially what we're doing. And that's really important, I get that. And it's fantastic that we've got members of the community so passionate that they'll do a knock and they'll put deputations up, they'll put petitions in. That's fantastic. That all helps us think about things and also gives us perspective. My concern is listening to the experts. They're saying that this has been identified as a black spot. They've drawn a quadrant that those residents will gain a benefit from this. And where I'm conflicted is I would hate to be responsible for a mobile outage in that particular area that caused some grief, caused injury or worse, when we've had an opportunity to make sure that that didn't happen because we've got a tower in place where it needs to be in place. I think if I got it wrong, and please correct me, from the deputation, they were saying that even if there was an opportunity to put a tower in that caravan park, where they've landed now, pardon the pun, is the ideal location for the coverage that they need to fill that gap. So perhaps it's the police background in me, but I just cannot get over the fact that if we can enhance communications in a particular area, and without knowing what without actually knowing, door knocking these people and asking what they think about it, I suggest they probably didn't have any input. We rely on your say and the internet for our community feedback. That's a real flaw, but no answers to that one. But without knowing the answer to that question, it's really hard to sit back and just balance it on the community impact, because for me, I represent not only people up the hill, but down the hill as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilkes, question?
I'm really sorry I didn't submit these earlier. They've sort of come as the night has gone ahead. So please feel free to take it on notice if need be. Will council be open to have conversations with TPG about other sites if this location is lost?
Through you, Mayor, we're always open to applications of any type to consider them.
Councillor June?
I have a question in relation to properties. When I visualise, I can't see that there's any properties directly adjacent. Like, no, is anyone looking out their window and seeing the tower directly in front of them?
Are you directing that to, does the staff answer that question?
My understanding is there's not, from what I remember, not directly in front of them on the corner.
Hang on, we'll put that to staff. You can take it on notice.
Sorry, I can look on Google it. Just when I've driven past, my sense is that there's a fence just there that then leads up.
We'll take that on notice, I think, unless there's somebody in the moment we're just doing a double check up here. Did you have another question?
I can fill in time.
No, another question.
I'm happy to take that on notice. Looking at our maps, it certainly doesn't appear there's anyone particularly close, but better to take it on notice than to guess.
Thank you. Sure.
Councillor Wilkes?
Sure. Can I get some clarification to the north side above the hill, that there's no residents on the north side of that? And also to the east. Also to the east? But straight to the north?
Let's just put the question to the staff.
Through you, Mayor, I can take that on notice. To the east, to the north.
North and east.
East, yeah.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Bell, do you wish to close debate?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all the elected members for their points and their advocacy for the community. I just wanted to remind you all of a couple of other things as well, just as my last statements, that of course, in the investigations that led to this report, there were a total of 5 options that were considered, and option 5 is the one we're considering. A lot of the other options, or at least 3, all 3 actually, all the other options, and 4 were along the coast. And I'm sure you'd agree that the impact of having more towers along the coast would be more unpopular. However, in saying that, we do have a number of towers along our coast, along the South Australian coast, including Snapper Point. I don't know how recently you've walked along there, and I can remember just at the shopping centre there's one behind the shopping centre or at the shopping centre, and you wouldn't notice it. You really wouldn't notice it, for example. So we do, sadly, in some ways, we do get used to them because it's something that sometimes just ends up blending in, or we are focused on all the beautiful things around us that we tend to look at instead. Certainly where I live in Kangarilla, to the east of my view is Mount Bold, and I feel comfortable now having a tower nearby, or a couple of them nearby, since 2021, when I had to evacuate because of a fire. And I know that in Kerry Gully, and I know that in Kangaroo Island, a lot of areas along our coast, people were desperately wanting more ability to connect because of all the black spots. So we have to think to the future. And when I say to the future, I mean that we need to think about safety and climate disaster. And we don't know what climate disasters will bring to our coast, but certainly interstate, we've had fires down to the coast. So, and maybe one day we might be using other technology, and maybe one day we'll be able to pull these towers down and we won't need them. But I think we need to consider that and trust council has another process in place, which includes stakeholder engagement with our Ghana people and community. So I respectfully urge everyone to vote for this one. Thank you.
Thank you. I will put the motion. All those in favour? And all those against? The motion is carried. Call a division. Thank you. So all those in favour, could you please stand? For Councillor Platten, have you changed your mind? Councillor Yeomans, Eaton, Stafford, Jew and Bell. And against Wilkes, Platten and Themiolotis. Thank you. We can now invite the others back into the room. I'm just, I'm conscious of the time. It's 8:20. We would normally have a break at 8:30. I'm wondering whether we want to have a break now. 5 minutes now. And so I will ring the bells again at 8:25 based on that clock. Thanks, everyone. Oh. Can I have a resolution? Thank you, Councillor Themiolotis. All those in favour, or seconder? Councillor Bell, all those in favour? Carried.
For the planning initiatives and supported the integration of conservation principles in urban growth strategies, principles that continue to influence Onkaparinga region today. His enduring commitment to education and equity has left a significant legacy in the southern region schools and TAFE systems. A respected elder statesman, Dr. Hopgood, has remained active in civic life, generously offering his time, experience and wisdom to numerous causes. His service reflects the highest ideals of public responsibility and community care. In recognition of his dedication of exemplary service and deep connection to the region, it is fitting and timely that the City of Onkaparinga honours Dr. Don Hopgood by awarding him the keys of the city, a gesture of gratitude for a life dedicated to the well-being of South Australian. And we of course, present that award to him at the official opening at the Hopgood Theatre coming up very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And apologies, Councillor Eden, I had to deal with the conflict of interest.
Yes, look, I'm certainly supporting it. And I really do believe that the appropriate night would be when we do the opening. I often walk past his photograph in there with his instrument in his hand, and you stop and think what he's done. But anyway, that's it's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Platten.
Yes, in full support. This is something that I completely agree with Councillor Bell. I don't think we would have a Hopgood Theatre without a Don Hopgood, and what a fitting moment in the refurbishment, but to give him the keys to the City of Onkaparinga. So I congratulate it.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Excellent. I to rise to support this motion, and just definitely also wanted to say I really hope that the official keys of the city can be handed to him at that opening. And I already know that there's sold out shows on the night where we are offering the free opening cabaret, and then the next Family Fun Day or Community Fun Day also is getting a lot of attention, and lots of people cannot wait to be there to support such a fantastic theatre and such a fantastic space for our community.
Thank you. Councillor Bell, do you wish to close debate?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, and a very fitting way of recognising one of our local elders. Item 9.5, the Ray Gilbert Award for Excellence nominations. Councillor Wilkes.
Excellent. I would like to move as written, please.
Go ahead.
Again, rise to support this motion. Look, I have lots to say about this, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I think probably the best thing is I was reading the report, and my daughter, who's in the chamber, or in the viewing, sorry, not in the chamber, in the gallery, looked over my shoulder and said, "Mama, what are you reading?" And I said, "We are looking to give an award to Dean Rowe." And she goes, "Dean, he's the guy that does the breakfasts and the walks and the raffles." And she started listing off all of the amazing things that Dean does in our community. He is a fabulous, fabulous gentleman who has dedicated a lot of years to supporting Judith's legacy. He is a great fella. Know him personally. I was really hoping to see him tonight. and I personally can't speak for knowing Vicky, but I did read her write-up in the report and also would absolutely be honoured to support this. Yes, so just wanted to say that we are honoured to have people like Dean and what I've read about Vicky in our community. I know Dean is hardworking, honest, well-managed, friendly, and he is extremely driven in his drive to raise awareness for ovarian cancer. So please, if you have a sore stomach and you feel ill, do not go without getting it checked, ladies, from Dean's words. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dew, are you seconding or do you have a question?
Yes, I'd like to second, please. I'd like to also extend my support to this motion. I've known Vicky and Dean for nearly 10 years, and I think that this report only captures a quarter of what the two have achieved on an individual part. However, most importantly, the positive impact that they've had on other people, particularly within our community. Vicky's work at the SAFE Centre has, where she's overseen so many actions that have supported some of the most disadvantaged people in our community. Vicky reflects exactly what our region values: a connector, a collaborator, and someone who breaks down barriers for those doing it most tough. And Dean, you may have seen, as Councillor Wilkes said, he's been involved, you might have seen him in a meeting, raising money in shopping centres, breakfast, walking for Judas Legacy, park run, chairing Aldinga Bay Residents Association, which Councillor Yeomans and I attended, which he chairs at 93, I think he is. The list really goes on. Dean epitomises participation, and through his leadership, I text him tonight saying, how much have you raised for Judas Legacy? $207,230 for ovarian cancer since the first event in October 2017. So they are very deserving recipients.
Thank you. Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. I also just wanted to very quickly add my huge support for this award for both the potential recipients. I also don't know Vicky. I feel like I want to. Dean has managed to convince me to dedicate a large portion of my life in the last few years to volunteering and to going to his charity events, and he's a wealth of knowledge and very inspirational. If you haven't had the time to talk to Dean, he'll probably talk you into volunteering on a barbecue, but it is worthwhile.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Can you put that in, please? Yes. Two outstanding community leaders that I too have known for a long, long time. 9.6, which is the petition regarding lighting HACKHAM West Courts. I mean, they said something that wasn't quite right then. Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, Councillor Pritchard couldn't be with us tonight, but he sent me through a number, and I say a number. I'm really happy to read them out. If
I just want to make sure that the minutes record that he wasn't here and you're moving the motion.
Yes.
Are you moving the motion?
I would like to move.
Okay, very good. So would you like to point out?
Yes, I can, and I've done my best, and I really hope that Councillor Pritchard understands that. So basically, what Councillor Pritchard has tried to do is to separate two parts of the report here tonight. One part would be sending electricity to the courts, which could be used by the community centre to run events. And one is the lighting, which the lighting was judged against, and I don't want to get it wrong, but the sport and active recreation plan, and not found to be in favour. But the electrifying or putting a PowerPoint to the court wasn't potentially considered. And so what he's trying to represent here tonight is that we talked to the community centre about electrifying the court, and then we review our processes to look into small projects. So we look at the project capital work, the PCW list, and potentially, and there's a lot of potentials in here. There's a lot of requests, a lot of reviews, but potentially look at a way that small items could be included to allow them to be funded through the sports and active recreation budget. But the PowerPoint should be funded through, and again, I don't want to get this wrong, but it is the building, there's a budgetary line for building budget, buildings urgent and general budget, which I actually think is probably fair. I don't think that by putting up this alternative motion in any way he's tried to bend the rules when it comes to budget. I think what he's tried to do is separate two.
It is your motion, so you'll need to own it. Would you like to?
For sure. I do own it. I think that is right. And I have a number of my own that are coming up. So I don't think that I've tried to separate the motion at all. But what I've tried to do is provide administration an opportunity. And that's an opportunity to review some processes which maybe allow small projects to fall short of certain categories and allow this wonderful centre to electrify some courts so that they can use it for events. And I think that maybe was lost in the report. So more than happy to own it, more than happy to represent it. I think that it gives council an opportunity, and that's something that I would like to see fulfilled, whether that's good or bad.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Wilkes, are you seconding the motion?
I would love to second, please. Well, that's the thing, Mayor Weir. I actually wanted to start with a question. I'm going to second. I'm going to go straight into debate because my question was, this project is not a part of the PCW, but is there somewhere that states it will be considered? I'm so happy that point 7 request council add this project to the PC Capital Works program. I think that's fabulous, Jordan. I'm so happy that Councillor Platten, I'm so happy you've covered that in your amendments to this project. Because when I looked at this was one of those projects where I was like, I wish we had the money to do it. This would elevate the area. I really agreed so wholeheartedly with what the petition is asked for. I saw all the benefits that they saw. I know that our young people are screaming out for things to do, and there is not, hours that go by where these courts aren't being used. You just have to drive past them and you see kids with those basketballs. And when the sun goes down, if there's no lights, people leave. It also talks about the crime in the request. So I thought it would be a great crime prevention. Then I also thought staff, I saw the manager was Morgan. I was like, he's done it again. I thank him and the team, as usual, for your time and effort to cost the project, because, again, we had that community coming to us with a request, and they sort of priced it out themselves. I think it was about 15,000, 20,000, but when the team have gone over beyond yet again and priced it out, it was around 200,000. I really welcome Councillor Platten's suggestions to break down the scope of works and take it away from the sport and active recreation plan. So really happy with the amendments that are offered here. I think it's will be a great project to deliver to the community. And again, team, thank you for going over and beyond when we've had a request from council, and to create a report that really highlights not just what that the community have suggested to us, but what the actual reality of that cost is, knowing true well that we have to probably don't have the money to fund it unless we get something clever like that, Councillor Platten's plan.
Councillor Bill, question or debate?
Just a question, please, Mayor, just to the staff. One to governance and one to the officers on the item. I just wondered, this is definitely falls within the motion. It's not separate motion.
It's really for staff, but I can tell you that it's one of the changes for motions you might recall from our training is to get better clarity. So I think I was happy with it in that way, but I'm happy to take other advice.
Oh, sorry, that's more to clarify with the report writers, the intent of the original recommendation, and to ensure that these changes are still within that
Yeah.
intent and are able to be performed.
Do you want to answer that?
Through the Councillor Bell, I think you understand your question correctly. So basically, when we first saw these,
Does it change the intent? Yeah, as Cheryl was saying.
Well, to some degree, in the sense that we have established processes in the organisation about how we assess bids, this is an effective bid for new capital works. So this isn't renewal. So the process, and as we stated in the report, the criteria that we assess against. So this is basically asking us to look at, I suppose, creating a separate criteria that would potentially pick up these smaller items that currently are probably, they would have difficulty scoring against the other priority items that we have in the budget and in the system.
Thank you. And also,
can I just add to that too, Councillor, that this is not about approving. There's quite a lot of things which are really around scope and request.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Mayor. Yes, further to that, I suppose, do you see it as an extension of what the original point 3 was, which was, point 4, which is that at the moment it currently cannot be assessed properly within the existing projects for sport and recreation, but it could be considered at a later date. And this will kind of clarify that, does it?
Through the Mayor, I suppose it provides an opportunity. So every year when we do the assessments, when we look at our resource prioritisation and look at developing the forward programs, this is basically asking us again just to have a look whether there's opportunities to provide additional, I suppose, support for these types of projects that maybe aren't being given that opportunity now.
Thank you. And in terms of time frame, do you think it'll be like another budget cycle or less?
Through the Mayor, I suppose it depends on which option council's willing to go for. So as we would have said, the costings that we had undertaken, which is basically for how we assess all of our court renewals to do with lighting, etc. And as we've shown through the costings, it is quite a costly exercise. This is asking us to look at a different way of assessing these particular items. All we can do is we'll have a look at it and see how appropriate it is to put up through the budget.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And just if I can just say a few words in debate, I do support the motion and the changes that have been recommended. Look, HACKHAM West is obviously a community that is underprivileged, and we're always looking to see whether we can make improvements there. I know that council works very closely, the community team work very closely with HACKHAM West. And the disadvantaged community in that area. I know that they've been having a lot of break-ins in the last couple of years, and obviously there's been a lot of work to try and address some of that, including working with police and other groups. So yes, I support the motion. Thanks.
thank you, Councillor THEMELIOTIS. Question or debate?
Questions. Point 6. Has there been a discussion with HACKHAM West around access to power or having a power outlet or something along those lines?
Through the Mayor, Councillor THEMELIOTIS, my understanding is that this request has actually come through from a member of the community. It's not the HACKHAM West Community Centre per se. So yes, conversations have been had with the centre. And my understanding is that there isn't a need for power on the actual courts, if that's how I'm interpreting it.
So not need for the courts. Okay. Point 7, PCW bids. Is it true that elected members can just email PCW bids at any stage? Can elected members just send an email with PCW bids at any stage?
That is correct.
Thank you. And then 8 and 9, do council staff consider this a bit of a policy change or a review in policy? And would that then come back to the chamber for discussion? And would that be in line just for HACKHAM, or are we looking at sporting clubs altogether that have smaller projects and amending service levels?
Through the Mayor, I think this motion, council, has asked us to review our current service levels. So as part of the development of the next budget cycle, if this is a deviation, it'd have to be a discussion with the chamber as part of a service review. So it is an adjustment to what we currently do.
And not just for, it wouldn't be just for HACKHAM, it would be across the board.
You apply a service level change across the board, yes.
That's all for now. Thank you.
Councillor Graves.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I don't have any other questions because they've kind of been covered. Look, I guess looking at this new motion, not even a new motion, looking at the motion, it does ask for a lot of work to occur in terms of future proofing or maybe making some changes around how we actually look at our strategic asset management plan levels and some issues around funding. And I don't have any issue with that. I think fundamentally, I'm in support of this. I think, you know, council's response to date has been particularly in this area around safety and around enhancing security. And I'm absolutely all for anything that will improve the safety and amenity of this particular area. I'm not convinced that lighting tennis courts is really a priority for this particular location. However, obviously, you know, someone in our community has identified it and has asked the question. So, look, I'm happy to support it. I just think there's a lot of words there and it's probably confused a few people. But if all this is doing is just asking for council staff to take a step back and have a bit of a view on how some of our policies are impacting on our ability to actually be able to meet some of these smaller projects, then I'm happy for that to occur.
Thank you. No further questions. Councillor Platten, do you wish to speak to the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Thanks, everyone. Item 9.7, the city-grown native plants volunteer recognition. Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could start by just making a small correction to the report.
To the correction to the report.
Yeah, it just refers to me in the executive summary as Council Platten. And while I do appreciate being an entire elected body, I am just one of many.
I think we can accommodate that.
Thank you.
Do you wish to move the motion?
Be very happy to move the motion as written. I think the recommendations are very clear and the scope that council have to provide the plants and the cost that it's going to cost for us to provide the plants is incredibly nominal. I would hope that the chamber support this, given that it ticks a number of boxes, I feel. It ticks the environmental box from a council's perspective. It ticks recognition of our amazing volunteers. Both of those things, I don't think will hurt anyone. And financially, I think incredibly successful. So I thank the nursery for coming through with the numbers. I hope you all support it.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher.
May I rise again to support the motion and debate.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. With 3 volunteer recognition events each year and up to 77 volunteers receiving recognition, the estimated annual cost that Dean spoke about is $206.36, which can be accommodated within the City Operations Nursery operating budget. And since 55% of this cost is already budgeted as fixed wage input, the initiative poses minimal financial impact. The city nursery produces up to 35,000 native seedlings annually, making it feasible to supply plants for recognition events. Current council policies allow for gifts to registered volunteers, prioritising items sourced from local businesses or council programs. This initiative would not only acknowledge the efforts of volunteers, but also strengthen community ties as the nursery relies on volunteer contributions for its operation. I urge members to support the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Any further speakers, questions? Councillor Platten, do you wish to close? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Item 9.8, the waste strategic plan. I don't think there's no updates. Councillor Wilkes.
I'm Happy to move as written.
Thank you. Do you wish to
just
speak to the motion?
Debate, really, go ahead. Really tiny little debate. I just wanted to say that I think that the waste team are fabulous. The last I heard, they have the highest call-ins, and I feel like I can vouch for that because I'm always contacting them because my residents have always got questions about rubbish and bins blowing over, and every time there's never an issue. It's always sorted out so quickly. So it's great to know that our most contacted department and council always responds so quickly. It's fabulous. I really like the plan. I love the way it was laid out. I thought it was really easy to read. I like the context, the sections on what's changed since the adoption of the Waste and Recycle Management Plan in 2017. Love the action plans, the strategic directions. And I also like the game that the waste team have created. I think it's fabulous. My students love it. And it never seems to faze me, the initiative that this crew, what do I call you? This department comes up with.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher,
I'll second it. Thank you.
do you wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Councillor Dew.
Just a quick question. I wondered of the actions, what would be the top 3 actions that we can expect to see in the next 12 months?
Through the Mayor. Probably the next top 3 for the next 12 months would be the illegal dump campaign. So that's going to include the media approach, advocacy, signage, and a review that will come back to the chamber at this stage looking at 2027. So we've got time to actually encompass all of those and see what impact it has. We'll also be doing the curbside waste audit. That's critical for the data, supports our education initiatives and what we need to inform our community on. It will also be used for the diversion dashboard, which is another planned action item. But without the audit data, it's very hard to kick those off. The third one would be the trial of public litter diversion, and that'll be in a dog park and in a primary location of a public space for trial, just to see what works and doesn't quite work so well.
Thank you. Just a super quick debate. I get very excited by waste, which I never thought I would, and just wanted to thank you for all the work. And I love how I feel like our council takes a really contemporary approach to waste and all the different layers that come with that. So I was really excited to see the work that's gone into it and how it will set us up into the future. So thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Brooks, do you wish to close? Can you pop your buzzer on? Thank you.
Which is the same as me. And your action 2.1.3, the encouragement, the use of bin latches. I see it on your Facebook. I see it online. The community love it. So yeah, again, another great initiative. Thanks, guys.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. And I just do want to thank the team. A lot of other councils, my peers, other mayors, do look to the great work that we do here. So congratulations. Item 9.9, the final update on the proposal to revoke land at Marie Avenue, MORPHETT, VALE. Do I have a mover? Councillor Greaves.
Yes, thank you. Happy to move as written.
Do you wish to speak to me? No. Councillor Eaton.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak?
Yeah, just it's interesting, the quick turnaround from the Minister's office. 2 months. And Highway Drive was nearly 2 years, well out of caretaker mode, and we still haven't made a decision on it.
Thank you. Any further questions, debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 9.10, which has been very close to the hearts of many people in this chamber who have spoken about this, the Onkaparinga Advance to Zero Homelessness Project. Councillor Dew.
Firstly, I'd like to declare a conflict. It's a general conflict of interest because I work for the Department of Human Services that is mentioned. However, I have no influence over funding decisions related to this matter, and therefore I intend to stay in the meeting, debate and vote.
Thank you.
With that in mind,
go ahead.
I'd like to move into debate, please.
So you're moving the motion?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And now you've made debate.
Sorry. Thank you.
The clock on.
As the report highlights, there's been a 30% increase in the number of homeless people presenting in Onkaparinga compared to 12.2% in Greater Adelaide. If approved tonight, this project will be a welcome news for the sector. As we've heard over the months, Onkaparinga has such a great standing in the sector for the collaborative ethic across the organisation. This will bolster support, coordination, increase data and maximise finite resources across the region, directly positively impacting individuals' lives and making future systems much more sophisticated. This is an opportunity that I'd like to thank the team who have been working on this for many years and it's finally come to the chamber, which is very, very exciting. It's an opportunity to get us in front of the issue, to be a key player around the table, and to rather than be reactive, be I didn't think of this word, just be on top of it. I'm definitely supportive of Onkaparinga becoming an advanced to zero homelessness partner, and thank you very much for your work, and I hope it's approved tonight.
Councillor Bell. Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second the motion and just congratulate the staff and congratulate those who have been participating in this process to bring it forward. It's wonderful to see, the continued collaborative approach that we have with stakeholders, the partnerships, the advocacy. It's in line with our community plan, and it's in line with our public health plan in protecting and promoting progressive health of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Dew, would you just close debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. And congratulations to the team that have been working on that. And it's a farewell to for Emma, who has been behind all of this. And I hope that you go out on a high knowing that your work is now embedded in our work as well. Item 9.11, Vine Street Community Facility, page 337, Councillor Fisher.
Now, rise and
what are you moving, and which bits are you moving?
Thank you, Mayor. I rise to support the recommendation 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
2 and 3.
As written.
Okay, just double check. Do you want to have a look at the screen, make sure that that's what you thought?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I have little discussion. We have had significant background and advice through EM sessions in relation to this facility. And I think the alternatives of 2, 3 and 4 speak to those discussions. So I urge other elected members to support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor THEMELIOTIS.
Yes, happy to second. And
happy to second.
Yeah, a lot of things right now. And just to briefly say that, like Councillor Fisher, this part of the motion strikes that balance where we can see some opportunity for Ranella Neighbourhood Centre that are very tight at the moment. They've got a lot of people there, and the People's Pantry that are looking for the extra space as well until we go through our community facilities district plan and work through what that looks like. So I think this is the balance.
Thank you. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, certainly I'll be supporting it. You look at the effort by the board there at the Neighbourhood Centre, and I've actually attended a few of their meetings and the pressure that they're under, and I think this is the best achievement for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fisher, wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And thanks, staff, for some interesting and lots of moving parts in that. So well done. We really appreciate it. Item 9.12, Councillor Bell, I believe you've got a conflict you wanted to declare.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to declare a general conflict of interest, seeing that this motion is about a submission to state election. In regards to the state election, I would declare that I'm a member of the Labor Party and the Labor candidate for Hyson. I intend to stay and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Just checking if there's anybody else in the chamber that might find themselves in similar circumstances and want to declare. Otherwise, I'll keep moving. Councillor Eaton. Go ahead. Sorry, Councillor, would you mind just? Yep.
Are there any items on the advocacy list that are in your ward that you're a declared Labor candidate for?
This is a submission to, this is submission to the LGA for the state election. So regardless of that, any elected member is here on behalf of the whole council. So we've got a number of state and federal seats where some bits of them are inside the council and some bits that are outside of the council. So,
but if we have a declared Labor candidate who's advocating for Labor principles in that particular area, and then we have sort of.
I think so I think we can take that on notice to get further clarification, but it's not related to the writs haven't been issued yet, so we're not in campaign land. It's a general conflict of interest that's been identified by the councillor, so it's not of material interest.
Okay.
And it's also to the LGA. So in a sense, and I've spoken to the council about this, there's a courtesy because it's in the public domain. And I think that's reasonable.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll certainly move the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the item?
I just look, it outlines those issues that we see, and we need to get the message across, because I think the state government got to wake up to themselves a little bit. You just look at what they're charging us at the moment for stamp duty.
Outside of this.
So it's about, we don't get the revenue streams, but we need the assistance, and this is what that's about. Thank you.
It is definitely what it's about. Councillor THEMELIOTIS, a question?
Happy to second.
Yes.
And only mention cats. Come on.
Yes, cats. Thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe a world-class one word seconding, but very impressive. Any further questions? Councillor Eaton, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, carried, and that's very helpful to me in the role I have at the LGA. So I appreciate getting that early. It helps support the work that we're doing on behalf of our community at the statewide level. Item 9.13, which has also been a long time coming and a great initiative. So we are now able to debate and discuss this, the Economic Growth and Tourism Strategy. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'd certainly like to support the motion and put it up. One of the issues that I do see there, I mean, it's a very comprehensive plan, but I've only just got one question. We see that the federal government have recently made a decision in respect to the funding for the submarines, and it's all going to Western Australia. And I'm just wondering whether our reference to the AUKUS submarine program under those circumstances at page 16 of the plan, or page 368 of the agenda, is still appropriate.
Thank you for your question. So you're referring to the first paragraph there. This is in AUKUS submarines program, and regarding our elements in that, regarding our manufacturing and logistics contribution. So do you wish to respond to that?
Yeah, through the Mayor, thanks for the question. At the end of the day, yes, there was an announcement around AUKUS and a new facility being built at the Henderson site in WA, but the reality is there's still going to be plenty of opportunity for South Australian businesses, including those like Red Arc that are based here. So everything that we're getting from indications, and I had a conversation earlier this week with Defence SA, is that it's not going to impact us with a lot of our local suppliers.
Might even be advantageous. Councillor Dew, are you got a question or seconding the motion?
I do have a question. I wondered how agile you feel the strategic plan can be in response to the algal move, the algal bloom. Sorry, it's not on notice.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And through the Mayor, I think it will be. At the end of the day, the algal bloom wasn't something we expected. So it's a little bit similar to what we had with COVID. So I think what we've got in the strategy is enough agility to be able to work through that. So things like our business mentoring, support for local businesses, our encore events during summer, etc. So I believe there's enough in there. But I think the other thing for elected members to be aware of is with this strategy, there's also the scope that if things come out outside of that, we can still address it. So it's not the be all and end all. It's trying to give us a strategic roadmap, but where there's opportunities that we need to adapt, we'll certainly still do that.
That was a fantastic response. Thank you. My last question was, which is a little bit down in the weeds, so you can tell me that no, that's not right for now. But I noticed that there's sort of a section in there, I'm pretty sure it's in this one, where you're looking at kind of macro population level data and also data that we actually have influence over as well. And I just wondered if business satisfaction, dealing and working with council would be an interesting indicator, thinking about how we actually support small business through planning, through the different touch points that they have, and if that's been a consideration.
Yeah, thanks again for the question. Through the Mayor, it is a consideration. So we've kept this fairly high level. At the end of the day, this is still the first economic development strategy that Council's actually adopted. So we've kept it very much at a foundation level. I think personally there is opportunity longer term to do some of that survey work with business around satisfaction. And I've actually personally done that at other councils before. But I think at this stage where we're at, it's really about getting some of those runs on the board. So I think that's something that we can come back to in the future. What I'm really conscious with this strategy and with the team is actually having staff on the ground. So we don't want people just to be sitting in the office writing policy. We want people to be actually engaging with business. So over the next sort of couple of years, the main point is that we're actually getting that feedback direct from businesses as well, and we can pass that on to other departments as part of what we're doing.
Wonderful. Just a very short debate, please.
You seconding the motion?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for all your comprehensive work. It's fantastic, and it is a great foundation for us to move beyond where we are now. So thank you.
Any further questions? I'm going to ask a couple of little ones. In terms, I know this is going to be getting our baseline data essentially, and I'm interested, and this is definitely a question on notice, and that is about how to build, to advance that baseline data into metrics that then will be cross-matched with our community plan, which I know is kind of in here in the text, but I'm just wondering if you've got a comment about that.
Through you and to you, Mayor Webb. So in terms of the community wellbeing monitors connected to the community vision, as you know, are pretty high level and population level. So it's very hard for us to collect sort of specific data at that level. But I would say one way that we do that and that we're building a baseline is through the community survey, which is not specifically about council services, but about how people are experiencing life in the city, and there is stuff related to the economics in those.
Yeah.
And then, as Ed was saying, we hope to build that out over the years.
Yeah. And the other one is really in relation to the ambassadors, and this is just, I'm really thrilled to see that they've got a dedicated workshop for themselves. I know there's a lot of interest in that. Councillor Wilkes, did you have a question?
Sure. No, I just really quickly wanted to add a comment.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I opened it again and thought, wow, this looks really engaging. It had some great imagery and really obviously some really great facts, I thought. And I just wanted to highlight that the engagement report and the way that you structured the comments, the suggestions that were put forth by the community about the report, and how you had highlighted comments next to it, like what you'd actioned, how you'd actioned it. I thought that was really beneficial, especially for me, because I was like, oh, community doesn't like that. And then you had, said how you had highlighted that with staff and other departments. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you. Councillor, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. That's a huge amount of work, and that's the beginning of more work. Item 9.14, shopping trolleys. Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. Reluctantly happy to move this. And that is because trolleys are like cats. They're everywhere and they should be looked after by their owners. But unfortunately, they're not. And after spending what I feel like was a considerable amount of time with the Manager of Community Safety and Property, Mr. Ian Hawkins, it has been explained to me resoundingly that we have no ability, without incredible financial cost to the council, to do anything about trolleys. So there's two, as far as I understand, there's two realms or two acts in which we could do something. The Unclaimed Goods Act, which we would have to notify the retailers that we have their trolleys and allow them to come and collect it. So we can't, and the Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act, which we would still have to hold the trolley because we know who owns it, and then destroy it if they don't come and pick it up. So luckily, the state government is proposing a local nuisance and litter control amendment bill, and this has been before Parliament once, I think, and this report basically outlines why financially it wouldn't be worthwhile us doing anything about trolleys, and advocates to the state government to progress its amendments to the Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act. That's all I have to say about it, really. Trolleys are an insipid, horrible litter that councils have had to put up with since their invention. I find it abhorrent that we can't do anything about it without substantial cost to our residents. And I hope that our advocacy is strong. I thank Ian Hawkins for listening to my bold and ambitious plans to define them as vehicles and as unregistered vehicles, and getting rid of them that way. And unfortunately, we can't do that either. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Mayor, I rise in support of Councillor.
Is seconding the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
And I want to acknowledge his passion for this particular subject. And I have no debate.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes.
Really sorry to rise with also a small debate. I'm not sure why, but ever since you brought shopping trolleys, Councillor Platten, to this chamber, I feel like I see them everywhere and I'm on high alert, and I had to share this with you. I'm sorry I didn't get to print the picture out, but because I see them everywhere, the other day I literally saw a trolley, a bunch of them. One of them was folded over on its side and there was a resident sitting on it at a bus stop. And I thought, Councillor Platten, you have brought both of those issues to our chamber, the lack of bus shelters, state government unfortunately, and the trolleys. So I think that you are definitely on point. And if we spoke to that resident, he also would say, I think we need to sort something out at those bus shelters.
Thank you. No further questions. Councillor Platten, do you wish to close debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? I look forward to the challenge of taking that forward in our various circumstances. I did send Councillor Platten images of trolleys in other locations when I was on leave to let him know that it's a universal worldwide phenomenon. Item 9.15, the submission to the draft McLaren Vale Regional Water Security Strategy. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Greaves.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Move as written. Thank you.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Yes, I'll support it as written.
Any questions? Debate? Councillor Yeomans.
I was just going to bring a quick comment on it. On page 439, we talk about we strongly support the goal of no wastewater outflows to the Gulf. This goal assumes greater importance given the impacts of the harmful algal bloom on the marine environment. Whilst the current focus of government is on the immediate response measures, longer-term responses are likely to include greater focus on reducing nutrients entering the marine environment. And I think for us, that's really, really relevant considering the potential growth in our city, particularly down at Selleck's Beach. So that's a very good statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Greaves, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And I appreciate you bringing that paragraph to our attention. Councillor Yeomans. Okay, we are now up to item 9.16, which is a report on the increased rating on vacant land. Councillor THEMELIOTIS.
Thank you. I'm happy to move and debate. Go ahead. Elected members, this gives us an evidence-based look at whether higher rates on vacant land could be part of our response to housing supply and land activation across our city. This report stems from Council's affordable housing strategy and a previous notice of motion. And obviously tonight we are just noting the report. So the report shows that councils across South Australia have workable models. Adelaide, Marion, Charles Sturt, Salisbury apply higher vacant land rates, often paired with discretionary rebates when owners can demonstrate progress. We've already applied a slightly higher rate in the dollar to vacant land, and officers have indicated in the report that there's scope to refine this using rating factors to increase the relative contributions from vacant land parcels and pairing it with targeted criteria-based rebates for those who actively are progressing approvals, servicing or construction. That balances incentives with fairness across our city. Crucially, this is not about revenue raising. Any change would be revenue neutral. For councils overall, it would shift who pays what. So vacant land may pay a little bit more and residential land may pay a little bit less. My view is that we should continue this work. And why? Because those in our community are getting growingly concerned about development happening in our area on community space and green open space. They want us to look at other options first. Oh, here we go. Where am I? In short, exploring an increased rates on vacant land and done carefully can build homes, recognise public cost of servicing land that sits unused and keeps fair with our affordable housing strategy. So I hope you support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Eaton.
I'll second it. Nothing to say.
Any questions? Debate? Councillor THEMELIOTIS, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. 917, page 483, the quarterly financial report. We're all noticing the absence of people who'd like to speak up to this. Councillor Fisher.
Move this written, please.
Thank you. Councillor Yeomans.
We'll just have a second, just a question.
Would you like to speak? A question?
Yeah, a question first. Just this might be on notice, but over the course of the financial year, a total of 1.659 million net expenditure was identified as surplus and not required to deliver in the 24-25 capital works program. I was wondering why we've got that. Is that because we're overestimating the cost of these projects, or why wasn't that money spent?
Through the Mayor. All of our projects contain contingency budgets for any unforeseen issues that might arise. So this underspend is generally related to the contingency, which hasn't been required to deliver the scope of work.
Yeah, okay, it's just a follow-up question. I guess flowing on from that one, if we've got that much money saved from not doing those projects, can we move some projects forward in the program?
Through the Mayor, that is a possibility if that's what council chooses to do.
So, okay. How would we know what we might be able to do? Sorry.
So tonight, the motion that we've got before us is about is receiving the report of the quarter.
Yeah.
So okay. With that additional information, you then may wish to do something in the next period.
Okay. Yep. And sorry, forgive for that. Sorry. Forget that. And just a couple of things from an ARC's perspective when they reviewed the budget review for. Just a couple of notes here. There was no significant variations were identified as part of the year's end analysis that would have impacted on the 25-26 budget or rate increase adopted by council on the 1st of July. So all things being equal, we'll have enough money. And the interview positions consistent with the trajectory of the adopted long-term financial plan. So it's good budgeting. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher, wish to close? I will put them item. All of those in favour? Against? Carried. And thanks everyone for all the acting up and that is going and all the opportunities for leadership that are emerging at the moment in your division. Thank you. The council committee and reporting schedule, Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll move it. Thanks,
Thank you, Councillor Themilotis. Are you seconding? No questions, no debate. All those in favour? Thank you, carried. Item 9.18. Oh, sorry, that's what we've just done. Questions on notice. All of those have been prepared and now available to you. We now move into the motions on notice, and the first one of those on 4.5. Sorry, Councillor Fisher.
Hey, can we just go back?
Oh, I missed one.
Questions.
Other questions on notice?
Questions on notice, I have a question. So
we don't discuss the questions on notice.
Yeah, no, it's just in relation to process. So it says, for instance, for some of questions on notice, that the answers will be provided in the minutes.
Correct.
So is that obviously
after the meeting? Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. So the responses to all the questions on notice are part of the public record, which fits into the minutes. So they get presented as a. Stop me when I get this wrong. They get presented as a draft, and then we approve them at the next meeting as a set for public record.
As in the minutes.
Yeah, the minutes. Yeah. Okay. Now, Councillor Themilotis, item 11.1.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to move and some debate. Elected members, over 21,000 motorists travel up and down Flagstaff Road daily. So a lot of residents in my community and in other wards see this big, large vacant parcel of land at the top of Flagstaff Hill, which has been left unkept for a significant number of years. Nearly every year, I think I've asked council staff through the planning team, what's happening with this land and what's happening with this land and what's happening with this land, and got pretty much the same response every time, because there hasn't been a development application that's come through to council. This parcel of land has created a lot of conversation in my community, a lot of conversation on social media. And I think quite often when Jeff and I are out in the community, they always say, what's going on with that piece of land? Are we getting that 7th Street shopping centre? Is it going to be housing? Can you get some clarity? So I'm asking elected members to support a mayoral letter to the Adelaide Development Company to try and get some clarity for residents. And when that letter is received, for the mayor to just put it in the mayor's report so residents can see their response.
Thank you. Councillor Eaton.
I'll certainly second the motion. I know it has been the point of discussion. Part of the issue there, of course, is the soil contamination. And that needs to be addressed because all that, they put a lot of soil in from the Darlington interchange work. And in fact, I tried to get our people to deal with it. Nobody did. So I actually got the heavy vehicle enforcement unit down and got them all pinched. So it has caused a little bit of dissension in that area. Thank you.
Councillor Platten, a question or debate?
A debate. I'm in full support of our mayor writing a letter, and I look forward to the response.
Thank you. Councillor Themilotis, would you like to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 11.2, Councillor Platten.
Thank you very much, me again.
Yes, it is.
And something that we touched on early in the night, and something that I did say that I would be referring back to, is public consultation. Now, currently, it's been raised here tonight that we send out thousands of consultations, whether that be an email or letter, and rarely do we get a very good response. I had the privilege last week of going to a TreeNet symposium on Thursday and Friday, and one of the keynote speakers, Jason Bryan, was talking about canopy coverage. And in his keynote speech, he spoke about how we increase canopy coverage and how we decrease removal of canopy in low socioeconomic areas. Mm-hmm. And one of the main points he made was that consultation, specifically in low socioeconomic areas, has to be different. And it led me on a downward spiral. I'm sure that many of the elected members got messages from me about how we de-tokenise the way we do consultation. And this is a notice of motion that is probably just one step on that road. I've really focused on land revocations here and including face-to-face door knocking or seeing if we can. Really what I'm asking for is a report. I always ask for a report. I think it's good process and options to see if we can amend our public consultation policy to include face-to-face contact. I think in those scenarios where you're selling land in a neighbourhood, that can impact a neighbourhood more than it impacts the greater community. And while the impact of selling it and the financial windfall can be great for the broader community, for the community that it's being sold in, I think that we need to make an effort to go out and talk to those people. And I think, especially in low socioeconomic areas, it's very easy for us to look at results from our consultations and go, oh, only 20 people responded, therefore no one cares. But really, is it that they don't care, or is it that they just don't have time to be bothered with letters that say to the occupant? They're never addressed to residents, they're addressed to the occupant. I know I get a lot of them. Or they may not have internet access, or if they do, they might not have the time. So I think we need to make a better effort. We need to set a gold standard when it comes to public consultation, and we need to see the flaws in the system that we've got. The Minister for Local Government is putting together a community engagement charter, and I think we have the ability to be proactive instead of reactive. We have the ability to have, and I have no doubt, I've already asked staff, they're already doing some of this work, but in the public realm, we can show that we want to set a better standard for public consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher.
I rise again to support and second the motion and wish to debate.
Go ahead.
The council plays a critical role as the most accessible level of government and is expected to engage meaningfully with its community. While the Local Government Act establishes baseline consultation requirements, it is essential for the council to exceed these standards, particularly in decisions that significantly affect local neighbourhoods. Residents from lower socio-economic backgrounds often encounter obstacles when trying to participate in traditional consultation methods, such as online submissions or public notices. This can lead to feelings of exclusion or frustration, as evidenced by common concerns expressed by residents to all of us, including the lack of awareness about consultations and decisions impacting upon their lives. To improve engagement and foster trust, the motion proposes that the government amend its public consultation policy to mandate face-to-face interactions, such as door knocking for consultations related to land revocations and land-use change or modifications to local amenities. This approach aims to ensure equitable participation, respect for affected residents, and a stronger connection between the council and the community it serves. A report detailing options for implementation of this amendment is requested for consideration by the council. I urge fellow members to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Drew.
I've got a question of staff. I was sitting here listening to Councillor Platten thinking about how the location is just one factor when we're thinking of, you know, that we're driven by low socioeconomic people or whatever, if that's the group of people that we're most wanting to get to. I was thinking about how we currently determine engagement, because what is in my mind is around people that are directly affected by the consequences of our decisions, and how we determine who we engage.
Through the Mayor, it's determined on a case-by-case basis. Currently, it's not legislated to do face-to-face or door knocking for any engagements. In the case of land revocations, for example, we do require written submissions because it is legislated that as part of that process, the minister requires the written submissions. Quite often we've found that when we do door knock people, they're excited to share their feedback, but then they don't go to document it. So in land revocations, we do require that. Additionally, we just on a case-by-case basis look at the radius of where the project is to determine how far we let a box drop. Additionally, within the site, we put up the core flute posters or banners. And additionally, on the Your Say platform, we reach out to anyone who's suggested that they have an interest in land revocations, the suburb in question, etc.
Can I move into debate, please? Only to add, thank you for that, Bobby Jean. Only to add that I think that the Scoter Street example is one that comes to my mind, where we did some great engagement in the local area. But to me, the people that could have been directly positively impacted by a policy decision like that were unseen. They were unseen in that local area, but they resided in the region. And how do we hear from some of our most disadvantaged people that could be directly affected? Because what I've been hearing, even in the Scoter Street debate, is how important community feedback is. But if people are not visible within feedback and they're not within a radius, but instead they are still directly impacted, I think that that's our challenge. And so in my mind, it's around like a criteria, a matrix to help us determine who, I don't know, sorry, Councillor Platten, maybe this is too operational, but, how do we broaden it to be thinking of the people that are directly affected by an outcome or a decision, not just based on location?
Thank you. That's not a question, that was debate. And Councillor Greaves.
Thank you. Look, I'm more than happy to support this motion. I guess my thoughts around it are this. Community consultation for whatever purpose is not a perfect science. And I think over the years, this council in particular has spent an extraordinary amount of time and effort in shaping our consultation processes to the point where, pretty much what we're doing is best practice. But again, it's not a perfect science. You're never going to get 100% participation. You're only going to get a portion of our community participating in a process, whether or not that's verbal or whether or not with land revocation, it's a written submission. The intent, I think, behind this is making sure that those communities that aren't necessarily as engaged are engaged. But I also think that you can't cherry pick a process for a community when you're particularly dealing with issues which impact across the board. So, for example, land revocation. We know that where there are residents groups or communities that are highly engaged and motivated, they can get a petition together, they can have a street corner meeting, they can have a meeting down the park, and they can shift the decision making. We understand that. But whatever you decide in terms of communication and consultation in one community has to be translated into that other. So it doesn't matter whether it's in the middle of HACKHAM or MORPHETT VALE, you have to do the same if it's in Wollonga or Seaford Heights or wherever. I guess that's just one point. I'm absolutely always of the view that things can be improved. So look, happy to support this. I think though, what I'd like to see, and it doesn't need to be part of the motion, but also is the cost. Because when you actually go down the path of creating an engagement and consultation process that requires door knocking, street meetings, whatever, it is actually going to come at a significant cost to council. So I'd actually like to have a bit of an understanding when this report comes back on what the potential uptick in the budget for our consultation would be required if we were to go down this path. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilkes.
I, of course, stand in support of community consultation. I have always been and always will be a huge advocate for it. I just also wanted to highlight that I would have loved to have seen the conversations that we've had the last couple of meetings come through. And it's not that I won't support it, but just that the idea that we sort of take that blanket approach when we're sending out public consultation information about community land revocations to all of our residents signed up to Your Say, which we thought and discussed that sort of skews the results a little bit, sending it out to everyone, and that sort of misconception that comes through that we're always selling off community land for the reasons of, purely financial gain. So I would also, if possible, love to see maybe some commentary around that and whether or not we always have to consult with our 5,200 plus or close to residents on Your Say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Platten, do you have a question or are you planning to close?
That was if no one else.
No further debate, you can close.
Super duper. Councillors, I refer you back to page 100 in the report, where we had a beautiful example of a consultation, and 5% of those people wrote things like, we didn't know about it, we weren't informed, or why wasn't I told? We go above and beyond to send letters out and to email a core group. I'm not really sure who that core group is, but we do send a lot of emails out. And I think it's important we all have experience with knowing that people don't know about something. My personal experience is talking to people about things. I did it on Tuesday night, and people just being astounded at information, and these aren't sort of read people. So I think we need to set an example. We need to go out, and yeah, it'll cost money. Absolutely, it will. But generally, and certainly the things that I'm talking about in here are going to cost us money anyway, or we're going to make a bunch of money off of it. Selling land, for example, is an asset of our residents, and we're proposing to sell it, and we're proposing to do that for budget repair and make money. And part of that money should be used in good, solid consultation. And I don't think you can sit back and say, we would have gone out and talked to these people and had a good conversation, but it was going to cost us a heap of money. So we just sent them some emails, and then the consultation only had 20 people respond. So they obviously don't care. I don't think that's true. I think I get like 30 emails a day, and I can see how easily that slips through. And certainly letters. I mean, I have a doom pile in my house of things that I haven't read. And I think that's pretty normal for this day and age. So I would like people to support it. I think we have to accept that there'll be a cost to it. I'm not going to be astounded when that comes back. This is a report. It shows leadership in policy, and I hope you support it.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Item 12.1, the petition. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'm certainly prepared to move the motion.
Thank you very much.
And in support of it, those community-owned facilities have got to get out and find all their own money, unlike the funding that we might put into those facilities that are owned by council. But one of the things I'd like to see in the response to this is the funding that we've actually provided to each of those community-owned facilities over the last, I'd say, 5 years, because we did put a lot of money into the Wollonga Recreation Ground, if I remember correctly, and especially upgrading the grandstands and a few things like that. And there was money put into Cherry Gardens in respect to the change facilities that we got some funding from, and we support them otherwise. So I think there's a need to actually get that and get that balance right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second the motion to accept the petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Debate? I'll put Councillor Eaton, happy to, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We have now item 13, urgent business. Councillor Dew. What's going on here? Sorry, Councillor Bell, hang on, you just, Councillor G. You want, yeah, that's.
I've put something through as urgent business for council to make a submission to the South Australian Parliament Joint Committee into the harmful algal bloom.
Can I just ask members, councillors, if you just want to have a quick look at this in case people, because it came in quite, it might not, people may not have fully seen it. It was circulated, just to give you a chance.
And the rationale, are you happy for me to share that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is because the cutoff for the submissions is October 10th, which is before the next council meeting.
Are you happy to accept it given that urgency? Go ahead.
As we've heard and seen, the fires, drought and floods are equivalent in terms of the impact that the algal bloom is having to our region, our state and more broadly our country. And we have an opportunity as representing 10% of the South Australian population and 31 kilometres of our coastline to continue the momentum that we've already, the journey we've already been on with other councils to share our knowledge and our insight into what our community is telling us and what we're observing to the state government, and to work closely with the LGA around a submission that they may also submit. We have a unique community, particularly our wine region being so close to the coast, which means that we need to ensure that we are able to elevate their voice and be that voice in these kind of settings, and to also encourage them to also provide a submission. Like you all, I hope that when the state government and federal government are thinking about funding and dispersing how they're going to fund different projects, that they see us as a key partner. And I think continuing to be around the table and continuing to provide our council a platform to advocate and share what we are seeing and what we need to meet the needs of our community is important, that we are being proactive. So this is really helping us to be proactive, helping to shape and influence outcomes for our local government sector, but most importantly for our people, place and marine life. So I hope you support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkes.
I just have a question. Sorry, I definitely, just that last point for, am I allowed to ask a question?
Go ahead. Yeah, we'll request it.
Okay, sure. So just the request the development of a brief action plan outlining the city of Onkaparinga's approach. And sorry, this is the first time I've seen this. I haven't been on my emails today. So I sit in the technical officers meeting, which has Onkaparinga sitting underneath it as one of our 7 councils. And we have discussions quite often about the best way to relay information to the community. And one of the things that we discussed, and we've brought it up quite a few times, is how Dew sort of has to be the lead role. And it can get quite confusing for community members if we have lots of action plans coming from different places. And that's sort of where the main signage has come from. That's where the and I know because I sit on all the reference meetings that they're actually developing an action plan for summer. And I just question number 4, if Onkaparinga are then creating an action plan, and sort of the technical officers that, and we have a representative from Onkaparinga have sort of even said, we have other information coming in that we really want Dew to be the lead on that. So, I mean, I'm really happy to support it, but I do sort of question point 4. So would you be saying?
I'm just looking at it now too, but I don't think that that's in conflict with a lead agency for specific things.
Just as says request development for a brief action plan outlining city of Onkaparinga, that would be
part of that figure that could possibly be part.
So what I'm sort of saying is that we don't sort of have our own approach, and when I speak to the technical leaders,
it's our approach within our like within our council area. So I don't think it's inconsistent. It's the same things like we will put up signs. Yes, we'll put the signs up in our area. So it's about our piece of the puzzle. It's not saying that we will be overriding or anybody else's. It will be within the scope of whatever might come about, and giving this motion, I think, as I'm reading it, is an opportunity for you as an elected body to say that we will be willing, ready and able, as we have been, to take our place in that conversation and also in the delivery. Can I just check that is the intention? Yes, when you have the opportunity to debate, I would like to debate. I know when you close debate, you can have the opportunity to add more to that.
I would love to support it. I would love, if it's possible for
Councillor Drew just to give me a bit more information?
Not at this stage.
Okay.
Well, I'm ruling that the motion that we've got in front of us is that it's about our response within a bigger piece that is totally typical in the same way we do roads, road safety, community health, all sorts of things. It's no different to that. We often work within a much bigger, broader policy network, policy framework, and this is an example of that. So do you have a further question?
I do. Yep. So just to ask that, so is that Onkaparinga Council sort of creating a brief action plan with their logo on it, or is it?
I think that's getting into the operations. We're not even at that point yet, because this is to create our submission to the joint committee and then see what happens next.
But then number 4 is request development of a brief action plan. I would like to support it. So I'm just wondering if we're developing a brief action plan outlining City of Onkaparinga's approach, is that in consultation with you, or is that as City of Onkaparinga creating it themselves?
So this would be our submission.
The submission is A, B, C, D, and E. I'm asking about point 4.
This is our submission. I know. I'm going to defer actually to staff here. So when no, that's all right. When we prepare our response to a public policy context like COVID or road builds or public health, we will often have our own expression of that for our community and our place.
Okay.
I don't believe this is anything more than that, but I'm happy to. I don't want to cause.
Just as a representative from ACC, and who has
a representative on that as well.
So, for example, the signage that was created by all individual councils was taken off at their own initiative, and then it was actually.
So, point of order, that was actually because the state had not yet made that decision, so we were ahead of the curve as we've been all the way along. So there may be an opportunity. I'll just check with the CEO if the staff would be compromised by that.
Through the Mayor, I think it's important to note, elected members, that whatever we do, we would have to be lockstep in tow with the state government, who is the lead agency in responding. My reading of the urgent business motion, particularly 4, if you look at the second half of that, is a lot around advocacy elements. So there are advocacy elements that where the state don't have necessarily a position at this point in time, there'll be an opportunity for us to advocate for things that we think would benefit the City of Onkaparinga that may not have been yet considered. So we'd certainly, from a policy point of view, make sure we're lockstep with the state government's advice and what they do. But there may be other things that aren't yet addressed by the state government where we might be able to proactively advocate for the City of Onkaparinga community.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for clarifying that. I really appreciate it. So yeah, definitely happen to second it. Thank you for clarifying that. The only obviously hesitations I have is that messaging for the community. We all know how distressed the community is about this and how difficult it has been to try and digest what is happening to our precious coastline. I know that the state government, Perza, Sadi, are all working extremely hard. They're working overtime, and a lot of the time when they are working on things, now that they've really grabbed hold of it, they are trying their best to get really clear, concise messaging out there that is streamlined across all councils in all avenues, and very clear cut. They don't want to keep trying to break down the idea that the community are putting out there that this can be this or that or all those other things. So I know that one of their key drivers is clear messaging. I really, really hope, and I am sure that we will take that on board. I do have a little bit of hesitation. You know, I speak to the technical officers who are driving this, and they do not want to try and push their own council's agenda. We've said that in our meetings. It is about having clear, concise messaging and doing our best to support the public service and support due staff to be able to create that clear messaging, and then taking that focus on us pushing their messaging. So I really hope that that is taken on board when this is happening. And I know that City of Onkaparinga have got strong representation in there, and I think that's really great. I love seeing 7 Metro councils, and then we've got lovely Amanda who organised that amazing delegation, and Lauren has been a great advocate and very clear and articulate in those meetings, and you have done an amazing job as a coastal representative. And I know together that you and I and Councillor Platten and Councillor Yeomans look after our coast, and it's been an absolute honour to be able to work with you on this. I really hope that you can still come to our meetings and be there when you can. So so just really hope that we are pushing Ju's message. We're pushing it for the community, and we're not trying to sort of be a council that rises above and creates our own messaging, but really sticks to the plan on this. That the plan is constantly always developing, and it's really important that we support our community through this, because we know how heartbreaking and how devastating this is, and unfortunately we don't know when it's going to end. So just always trying to tread above water and hopefully not getting stuck down in that disgusting foam.
Thank you. Councillor Yeomans. Question or debate?
No, just debate. Just obviously support the submission of that submission. And in relation to 4, that's probably a bit more in the weeds. Remember that Councillor Platten talked about from a small business perspective that we probably haven't seen at this stage the negative impact, simply because it's winter and no one's coming down this way, especially going to the beaches. So I think it's really important, and the community would expect us to get on the front foot here and work out some sort of plan where we can actually be looking to encourage members of the community to come down to our beaches, to come down to our area, supporting businesses. And the messaging in relation to keeping the community safe. But I just think we really do need to get on the front foot. Always listen to the advice from Councillor Platt, and I'd hate to be in a situation where we're in February, March, and people aren't visiting the beaches, even though they can because they're safe. The shore, the coastal businesses are struggling a lot. When we weren't, we should have actually thought, we should have done something back last year. So that's really what this one's all about, I think. So certainly support this, and thanks for bringing it up.
Thank you. Councillor Ju, did you have a question? Can you undo your thing? Thank you very much. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to support the motion, in particular highlighting the focus on long-term management and working on finding ways to help the community with mental health and resilience, since we're leading the way already in that space with action on climate change, Kangaroo being the pilot for fire management, and now other communities. I think this sort of process of building resilient communities should be applied to multiple other sorts of events, even flooding in Old Noarlunga, for example. And so it's great to see that it's being considered in this motion. After all, it's in our regional public health plan. We apply localised approach, and that's what we're doing in the leadership space, promoting, protecting, preventing and progressing public health.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Yeah, I'll put the motion to put the motion.
Yes. Do we have a seconder for that? No, it's all right. You can still close debate, because that is you're entitled to do that. I believe so. No. You're not. Okay. Do we have we have a seconder for the putting the motion put? I'll take a vote on that. All those in favour? Against? The motion will be put. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to see those new skills being applied so effectively. We now have the opportunity to move into confidence, and the first is to exclude the public. Councillor Bell.
I move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor THEMELIOTIS.
Second.
All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. So just while we clear the room.